get buried. Vince is muted? He shouldn't be. Vince, say something.
Hello.
No, Vince
Hello.
ain't muted. What are you talking about? Come on now.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah, there we go. No robes or wizard hat. I couldn't find them. They were at the dry cleaners. Um, Vince and Meph, best night ever. Well, you basically get a double dose of Vince plus Meph now for like in 1 week span, effectively, because you got Warhammer Weekly last week, plus this week you get the Vince and Meph show. So prestidigitation, best spell in Dungeons and Dragons. You can at me at mr_meph. So checking, showing up, showing out. I see we get 1,000 RDP dropped already. Takeover Mars, reminding everyone chat gang ain't nothing to mess with. SJ Arcade, reminding everyone that flats are best part of Hot Wing. Big chat gang energy. Yeah, I agree. And Takeover Mars, tier 1 sub. 15 years. Best 15 years of my life. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Thank you so much for the support. I'm just going to get right into it. I think the banter will come naturally over the course of the show. I am, of course, the magical Mr. Mephisto, your loquacious Lich King, the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar. I'm joined tonight by the one and only Vince Venturella. How's it going, man?
Oh, man. Good.
Yeah, good. And we got like a spicy show for you. Not only are we going to teach you the ways of magic items for fun and friendship, how to have better magic items, and like, I guess our thoughts on broadly games, but certainly focused on Age of Sigmar. I've got a list of 3 items I would make for Age of Sigmar. I think you've got an idea of some items you might make. And we'll really kind of get into that, sort of like from the theory crafts sort of side of things, our own personal ethos, which I assure you are probably going to vary a little bit. What with the Johnny versus Timmy here, but
Sure.
but hopefully you'll come out of it with like a broad and heightened perspective and have some really good basis to work with. But the first part of the show, we can't not talk about the FAQ. Like, you can't have Vince and Meph on the same show the same day the FAQ drops and not talk about it. That's just,
Yeah.
I would be irresponsible if we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I don't normally tweet about rules, but I did today. So, I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know.
In a separate private chat, I took responsibility. I took what's the word I'm thinking of here? I took credit for you tweeting that, because it was like in our conversation on the side, like I said one like sort of like snarky quip, and then like it was just like Vince in rare form, like his power levels over 9,000 take, like it was pretty amazing.
I mean, look, I don't want to ever attack the people who are behind it, and I don't want to ever be like the kind of person who is sort of like aggressively negative in a hurtful way.
Right.
So I'm not going to get on there on Twitter and toxify the whole place or have takes like Tom used to have. I mean, no offense to Tom, I love him, but he leaned into all the worst aspects of Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like sometimes you got to come on and spit some truth.
It's true.
And like, it was a bad thing. Like, it was a truly terrible set of wording. It was lightly considered, clearly, was not given the appropriate attention. My guess is it never went through the playtesters, because I know they use those for the FAQ. My guess is it was a last-minute addition. It reads like a last-minute addition. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that, like, I don't know it to be true, but I know it to be true. That suddenly they were just like, oh, and also let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And they just didn't consider the implications because of any of a host of reasons. Like, I don't want to guess at what the reasons behind that were, but what I can say is that someone didn't think it through.
Well, I mean, you're referring to the tweet, but I think you got to be specific what we're talking about here for people.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, let's get into the FAQ. You want to just start grab bagging this, like grab some items?
Yeah, grab some items.
40,000 foot view. Here we go. High level. Cleaned up a lot of stuff. Most of it completely non-controversial. Fine. Apropos. No way it was worth waiting 7 weeks for.
Right.
I could have banged most of that out in a week. I don't know what they were doing.
Well, I think even most tournaments were running with a lot of the assumed stuff we got in the FAQ, because it was kind of like a lot of slam dunk. Like, yeah, obviously this works this way.
Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, so much of this was just layups, right? Like just layups. So I don't know what was going on. I don't know what we were having a long considered 7-week discussion on, because they didn't do any big changes. Right. If it would have come out, if they would have launched this in 7 weeks after the thing, and it would have had like adjustments to Gotrek and Marathi and Archeon in a bigger way, if it would have fixed save stacking, if it, like if they really would have attacked some of what I see as the core issues right now that are the proud nails of an otherwise fantastic edition. Right. I really do believe that. Like, I've had more fun in 3.0 than I've had in any other edition so far.
Yeah.
But there are some proud nails that are, man, they will catch your toe, right?
Yeah, they're just sticking out there. Like, you can...
Like, they are just bent way out, yeah. Yep. And, like, if they had come out and fixed all that, I would have been like, okay, I get it. You took 7 weeks because you made a measured decision. And I would have been fine with it. But they didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
They didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
They put in the layups, which are fine and necessary and all good and like great. We added some more elite units. Okay. Sure. Why not, man?
Yeah, no,
just keep driving down this road. We fixed like half of the ones I thought were weird that they didn't get elite. So
yeah,
better than none.
Yeah.
No, keep going. That was all fine.
Yeah, and the big winter FAQ, I look forward to another like half a dozen or so.
Right, sure. Just we're gonna keep drip feeding these until just like every unit in the game just gets to use command points. So why not?
Right.
But I'm happy Dragon Ogres and Varangard are elite now. Like, that makes sense to me. I have no issue with it.
Yep.
I wait the day for our Man Crushers to get elite, but that's fine. I don't know what a unit made of 12 wound guys who, when they stand alone as one, are usually an entire thing, an entire unit,
right,
for another army that's also a humanoid like thing with a brain, right? So whatever, but that's fine.
Yeah, what does elite mean if not this?
It's not this thing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The gyrocopter versus the Man Crusher. Sure, why not? But like, then there were just truly mystifying misses in there that like I cannot fathom how they made these choices. The one that we're talking about, right? So like, as we're playing the grab bag game, the one we're talking about that was obviously the controversial thing that got me to tweet today, right? Was the way that they fixed. I can't put enough quotation fingers around that.
Yeah, the scare quotes.
Yeah, ward saves. Now, they did a thing I loved, and then they went and ruined it. Okay? The thing I loved was they clarified that you can't use bodyguard with ward saves. Fantastic. Great change. Now, I was abusing that in my list at the tournament on the weekend on like a 6-up save battle mage, so I didn't feel that bad about it, you know what I mean? Or a 3-up save Nomad Prince forever. He's the ultimate, so he's a Sigmar general on foot who can be the normal general who can get advised. But like, okay, great. You can't use both of those anymore. Fine. Wonderful. Love it. A+. Thank you. It was stupid that they still had that exception where like, oh, you only got one ward, but then you can bodyguard and ward. Like, okay, sure. And then they went and said, oh, well, ward saves happen before allocation. Like, that is true. In 14.3, ward saves are a thing that happen before allocation. And so the question was like, what about other things that say they affect it after allocation?
I mean, it's literally the difference between before and after. Like, just the
do
most
those stack
pedantic
with ward saves? And they were like, yes, they do. Completely just not even thinking for a half a second about what they were signing off on, right? Like, just over like a 90-year-old person at a retirement home getting taken by somebody selling a vacuum cleaner. They were just swept up in this and did not realize the nightmare that they just unleashed, right? Because now all of those things work with
What's
bodyguarding.
what's really funny is like, so the death save as written isn't a ward save. It's still kind of
It's
a
not.
death save. It's using the former
We all
language.
assumed those were just ward saves. We just
Right.
said, "Yep, those don't stack
I
anymore."
I made
We
it.
get it.
Yeah, I was
We're on
cracking
board.
jokes about why we're calling it ward saves and not death saves, because death do it best. Ha ha ha. And like, what's really funny is they've the thing they tried to fix with the bodyguard is in regards to like a necromancer or like werewolves with or wolves, dire wolves.
Sure, yeah,
Like
lots of
it
bodyguards
works
in
again
the
for
game.
them. Like just in the like
Yeah,
whip, like
right.
rope a
Yeah, it
dope.
just because that still works with bodyguard now. So you can take your bodyguard and your deathless minions. Congratulations. You fixed nothing. And now, and like on the death side, I really couldn't care less. I like, this is my comment to you earlier, right? Like, I don't care about the implications to death because those characters, like, fine, you don't get enough feel no pains and they're not good enough to concern me.
Right.
Okay. Like, it's not that you can't have plenty of them. Sure, you can. They're a thing. Like having a 5-up, 5-up, 6-up, which is pretty doable, is stupid.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not like what you can achieve in Settler's Gain with a Frost Phoenix Lord, right? Where you can be like on a 3-up unrendable, 4-up, 5-up, 5-up.
And -1 to wound.
And -1 to wound for like 315 points. A plus. Oh, and by the way, you can also, they clarified that you can use flaming weapon on your mount. So like that actually makes him pretty scary because the flaming bird beak bite is a 3 damage bite now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like, it's so shocking to me how stupid that answer was and that they missed it. Now, here's my hope. Okay. There were a couple other things like this that were just like mystifyingly bad. Like the Wildwoods not having navigate the realm routes on them. Whoops. Like
I mean,
just
the way that happened though is it's like, see, this has been moved to the, like, they don't have it as an Allegiant ability. It's been moved to the War Scroll. Check the War Scroll. It's all magenta. It's not there.
Yeah.
Like,
no one who plays Sylvaneth read that War Scroll. That's what that tells me. No one who plays Sylvaneth read that FAQ. Obvious answer.
Yeah.
Because 3 seconds into reading it, if you're a Sylvaneth player, you're like, wait, how do I navigate the realm routes? Where'd that go? Right?
Right.
Instantaneously.
Yeah.
So nobody who plays that army read that FAQ.
Right.
Period.
I mean, this comes back to like, why does DOK seem to have genuinely responsible changes? And it's like, I want there to be a absolute Stan or Homer for all their various armies at some point in the pipeline for those armies.
Sure.
Like,
I see Mr. Jacob Barry's in the chat. Best sports winner at NashCon, one of the nicest human beings. I was playing in game 2 against a Doc Marathi and the Bow Snakes Go Trek combo. I would point out that Mr. Jacob Barry was also running Marathi in the Bow Snakes and Go Trek, but he was like 2 tables down from me. And I was watching him play, and in the middle of the game, he shouted out and was like yelling. He was like, "Oh my God, yes!" And he like had something his opponent rolled, and he ripped his shirt off, and he was just wearing little biker shorts. And he's an attractive man. I just want to say that he's all man. So it was when you bring a Jacob Barry into an event, you get the sports. That's what happens. So
I like that he had like, he was prepared for this. Like he had research, he had thought about his outfit in the future theoretically to like be able to tear out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they
were honest wargamer undergargons, sir.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the things that that's one of them that was just like hilarious. The Sylvaneth thing, right? But then there were the ones that were just kind of interesting, like our 15th shot at pink horrors, right? Like, pink horrors probably got better. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. They're interesting.
I want
maybe they got better. Maybe they got worse. I can't really tell, but they certainly got different.
I want to know the true Tzeentch players, like not the people who migrate to Tzeentch because it's the thing that wins. Like I want to know the true Tzeentch players' perspective on that, but I haven't been able to find one lately.
Well, I mean, I get it. Joe Cryer was very positive about it, and he's a filthy cheater.
Okay.
with Zinch, so that probably tells you a lot.
Yeah, no, that probably tells you just about all you need to know.
Yeah.
The dominant consensus I hear is they want the points to go down. Like is 215 to 200 really going to make or break that unit though? With what the war scroll reads right now.
I mean, it's an interesting unit because it's 50 wounds, like it always has been, for 210 points. It doesn't need to go, or 215, 210, 215. I
I
don't know.
think it's
Doesn't matter.
215. Yeah, whatever.
Sure, whatever. It would be an. I mean, it's 50 wounds, folks.
Yeah.
There is no other. I love that people complaining for this to go down. Like, there is no other war scroll in the game with that kind of a wounds to point ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Like, there just isn't.
Yeah.
Zombies are 120 for 20, 130 for 20.
I think so. I haven't built many.
They're one of those two numbers. I cannot remember right off the top of my head, but they're and you know, so like you're getting 20 wounds around 20. If you want to get to 60 wounds, it's 390, 360, right? I mean, it's just not even close, right? I mean, obviously it's a and you know, the horrors, like now their little iridescent guy gets more attacks, and so they I mean, it's not amazingly big deal. He gets like 3 more attacks. They get a built-in +1 to save because a dude toots, because they got a tutor. They toot. They don't cast spells anymore. Like, they're not a wizard, which is great, actually. That's probably like the best thing in the world.
But you can still get your fate points off of them.
Yeah, yeah. So they just give you fate points.
They just give you fate points. They cut out the middleman.
Yeah. They don't have like a 6-up ward anymore, but they do have the +1 to save built in. As long as they've got the little dude, their standard bearer guy gives them +1 to save. Mm-hmm. They're immune to battle shock until they take 35 wounds. I don't know, man. It's a very different scroll, is what I'll say. Yeah. You know, like, I don't know how to rate it. I'll call it interesting. I thought they were like silly before, but not like the universally worst thing in the ever. I'm interested to play against the new one, this new scroll, before I formulate my full opinion. Right. It's definitely a big change.
Right. And at least in the right direction, I think, is people just the sort of feeling that you have this infinite replenishing wound blob with a bunch of like sort of janky nickel dimey, like, okay, the banner, and then they battle shock, and I'm gonna use my one, like all that.
Yeah, sure. Like, that's all gone.
Yeah.
We can talk about the wrong calls they made, like the things they decided incorrectly, like that I disagree with, and I will die on these hills.
Yeah.
So number 1, the ruling on power struggle is that you do not have to hold them consecutively. So wrong, incorrect call, because that mission was actually interesting. If they didn't have that, if you rule that you have to sit there and hold it, it actually encourages certain types of anvils that could sit there and hold the thing. Right. And it's an interesting counterplay to the offense you generally want in the game right now to accomplish your things like broken ranks and slay the warlord and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So wrong. Savage Gains, they ruled it's 2 points for each. Very wrong. Can you
delve into that, please? Because Savage Gains is already like sort of a beloved like.
So let's talk Savage Gains. Savage Gains. My screen, my little square audience, is now the game board. Okay. And I'm going to print this out. This is going to be my map that I play on. It's just going to be a picture of me going like this.
I love it. Yeah.
It'd be amazing. Print that out in 6x4.
Yeah.
So, okay. You have one objective here on the opponent's 11-inch line. You have one objective here on your 11-inch line. And then you have 2 objectives here on the 15 and 22-inch line. You with me?
Yep.
4 objectives.
Yep.
Okay. Classic. This is a classic scenario.
Yep.
Right? And yes, not 6x4, 60x44. Yes, absolutely correct, Jacob. Thank you. And the reasonable way to read Savage Gains was, because it didn't say each or whatever before, was that if you control one or more of the ones in the middle, it was worth 2 points. Mm-hmm. Which interestingly kept that scenario in the same sort of points level as all the rest of the scenarios. And the scenarios that lead to the most balanced play are the ones where you basically kind of cap at 5 if you don't do anything really special. 1, 2, 3 off the objectives and 1, 2 off the battle tactics. Right?
Yeah.
So the only ways you get bonuses is if you complete them with monsters or kill a monster,
Well,
or so
when
on.
you have battle plans like that, just real quick to elaborate on it, when you have battle plans like that, what you're doing is you're allowing multiple strategies to be viable. Like
Right.
this is they're mad as hell, right? Like instead of ability, it's ability score, it's strategies. So you have multiple strategies that are viable, so you can sort of like do some sort of like castle up and go offensive, and you basically
Yeah.
play in a 3-point stance, and you try to like contest where you can, and you get really cagey with it. Like that's where I think where for me Age of Sigmar really kind of like lives and dies, and the great objectives or the great battle plans are like that.
Yep. 100% agree. And so, what was fantastic about Savage Games when it was interpreted as if you hold one or more was that it changed the way you played, because you would get this sort of rotational
The blender,
movement around the board,
Yep.
right? Of like, you're going to go for this one, they're going to go for this one. You'll kind of try to meet. You'll still try to protect yours while taking theirs, and you kind of fight along the middle
Focal
line.
points is great for this. Like you watch the blender happen in focal. Yeah.
Right. And it would lead to this really interesting play. And by the way, the score, it was very hard to run up the score unless you got their point, right? If you grabbed their point for one round, we're talking AOS FAQ.
Yeah.
Anyways, then it tended to be a very even, sort of white knuckle game, right? And those are the good ones where it's like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, you're tending to be very good. And so the only way you like jumped up ahead was by getting their point, the thing that should be the hardest to do, right? While also protecting your own. Right. Instead, because they don't understand, whoever made this decision clearly doesn't understand what makes for a good scenario. Like, again, I'm not ascribing intention or anything like that, or quality. I'm saying you clearly do not understand what makes a good scenario if you make this decision. Prima facie, it is obvious. Okay? Because now what can happen is I can alpha bunker you off of both of those objectives. Now I'm getting 5 points to your 1, and I can just run up the score to where you can't catch me.
Right.
Great. We're back to that again. Right? It's just so the wrong call. It's hard for me to wrap my head around how people don't understand the intricacies of the very thing they create.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So anyways, that one was a wrong call. So, okay, great. The clarification on the vice was fine. That was actually the one they got correct, because we all assumed it worked that way. That that all 4 are removed and then a new one shows up in the middle. It's important for understanding control, right? Because like if I controlled these 2 and they controlled these 2, which one of these 4 becomes the one in the middle? Well, obviously it was none of them, right? It was just a new one, and you don't just like get to free control it. We all played it that way. We all understood that that's what it was saying, but it was good that they clarified that, so no issue there, right? So I was fine with that. They didn't change. The important part is actually what's not there. But before we get to what's not there, I want to talk about a few other truly mystifying ones. If you thought that Caradron Overlords were kind of annoying before, get ready, son. Get ready.
The race to the bottom of the drop has begun.
It has begun. It has begun.
Yeah. Yep.
Because now you'll take Battle Regiment plus the GHB multiple behemoths one. I don't know what the heck it's called. I don't even remember.
Pack Master.
Because they ruled.
Like that.
What's that? Alpha Beast Pack? Is that what it is?
Is it Alpha Beast Pack? Maybe. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they ruled mystifyingly, again, against all reason, that the D6-inch pregame move you get out of Alpha Beast Pack can be replaced with a KO Fly High. Sure. A teleport to anywhere in the board with your entire army, because those ironclads can be full.
Yep.
Okay. And have like balloon boys hitching rides and everything else.
Yep.
teleport to literally anywhere I want, turn 1, to alpha strike you in the face, right? With, like, forget Barack Ziflin. Who needs that anymore? Like, I'm just going to take my whole, put everybody in 2 ironclads, hook them up, shoot them up, stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. And that is how rough flyers roll. Because, like, here comes the guns, baby. It's hilarious to me that, like, that those two things were considered equivalent. That we went, yeah, this is a completely reasonable interpretation.
I want to know. This reminds me of like someone's homebrew, where like they'll have like some house rule that they just make up arbitrarily, and it like how did the logic go from like whatever question they had burning inside them to even get to that point? Where like a D6 move equals a deep strike. Like how does that? And not like go ahead.
I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to summon him, but the gentleman asked a question in the chat of they could do that before, couldn't they? Well, no. With Brock Ziflin, you could use There's Always a Breeze if you look, and that gave you your sort of hero phase move. And yes, you could fly high, and you could take one ship out. But one ship could be full of Thunderers and an Admiral and stuff like that. So, like, you could get there. You couldn't take everything, because now you can take 2 ironclads or an ironclad and a frigate, both full of dudes pitching over. On the, like, this D6 move, scoot your whole army. Before, you could only take part of your army, and that was part of the thing. The Barack Ziflin Alpha Strike of, like, drop down chemist or whoever it is pops out the Warp Lightning Vortex, because of course that's happening too, by the way. Like, out comes the spell in a bottle, Warp Lightning Vortex. We didn't fix that. That's still a thing, right? And they just, like, so they could already hit you with a lot, but they couldn't bring their entire army against you.
They had to stick their neck out, in other words. If they didn't execute on proper target priority and roll it through the bell curve, right? With, doing the math,
because
Fibonacci sequence.
I'll continue. Because now they can do it and then dump all their dudes out.
Yeah.
So they can show up, drop everybody out, which has to be within 6 inches, which means they can drop to 3 inches away from you. Okay. Dump all the Thunderers out of both boats and just 420 blaze it. And then the boats, if they want, can just leave. Right? Or put themselves in a more advantageous position.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, they, like, the alpha capability of the army increased. Right now, Tom and Gary Percival have to be like, yes.
Gary P's entire interactions with me today make 100% more sense now.
Yeah, like, they're dreaming of how they're going to be 3-drop, because that'll be the drop.
Right.
And they're going to take 15 to 1,600 points of their army into you 3 inches away at the top of one and then leave. Right? And just be like, let's do this. And then when you charge them, the 20 group of Thunderers will unleash hell on you. And they get +1 attack because you're within 3 inches.
Right.
So, like, that'll be fun for people.
Fantastic. Real quick, Snitbag dropped 1,000 RDP earlier to remind everyone, chat gang ain't none to mess with. I don't know.
I mean, hey, good for them. Way to go, KO brothers and sisters. Enjoy your new cheating. I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's so bent, and yet they're going to get to do it, so A+.
I mean, at least Corn Dragon's 1250, right? Like that, the menace that...
Well, we've solved it. We've solved it. I'll tell you what, that Monstrous Arcanum update, let's talk about Monstrous Arcanum for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
So we figured out, we legended a bunch of stuff. We officially have Chaos Dwarves and Legends now. Good. It's where they belong. Until they inevitably get relaunched. What if that's the left turn and that's the October Chaos Army? Wouldn't that just be the most incredible thing
I love
in
it.
the world?
I love it. Like Nurgle, like honestly, like Nurgle players, like they want a new tome. Like they really do.
They don't.
But they don't. Like
right.
So like drop a new drop the new whatever they call the Legion of Asgore in the future. I mean, it's an army that's pre-packaged already.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly pointing toward them with the Hobgrots or whatever. Like, they're going to bring them back. They'll relaunch them at some point in 3rd edition. So.
I mean,
You're
maybe
going to
people
get the new plastic range.
right. Yeah, people didn't love them enough in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I know because we have the sales. It says like 3 people bought them. Um, but the audience in AOS, well, they're a different breed, and I think that you're like, here's Doom trains and like combat genies and stuff. Like, oh, people will eat it up, right? Like it's already
Yeah,
cranked to 11. It's already absurd. So
sure,
it's
sure.
already mythic fantasy. Hell, they might
So
actually be able to go to 12. We finally found the faction that can go all the way to 12 in AOS.
yeah, but they published the new Monsters Arcanum, and I was reading through it, and whatever, they pushed the Corn Dragons points up. That's probably fine. Like he was used at NashCon, and he was an absolute beast, by the by. That dude won a lot of his games. So he took something. What did he end up taking? I don't remember. He got something. I don't know what.
Right.
Um and so like they did little stuff like the Rogue Idol got the Cruel Boys keyword and Iron Jaws and all that kind of stuff. Fine, whatever. But I was looking at the Soul Feaster, okay, because like the Greater Keeper of Secrets, effectively the only one that isn't called Greater whatever, like the Soul Feaster, Keeper of Secrets. And she's 385 points, okay? And I was thinking about that, and I was like, before she was a total skip because she didn't have the command ability. All right.
Right.
But now the command ability is so next to worthless. I was like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe this lady's back on the menu. She's the same offensive profile as the normal one, but she's 35 points cheaper. I was like, maybe this is the answer. Maybe we go back to Soul Feasters. Yeah. She can get you some bonus depravity once in a while. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Near the tail end there, after the first sort of like set of nerfs to Slaanesh, it was like right before, they were kind of a little bit of a no man's land right before the second book. Yeah. A lot of people were kind of abusing that out of the summon pool, was where they were like going with it. I remember like having. So yeah, I mean, Slaanesh most Slaanesh players might already have their greater exalted demon or whatever.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a Soul Feaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can see her, but she's right there.
Yeah, right on.
So anyways, that was funny to me. For the rest of that stuff, like whatever, it's cool. The other things, what other things happened besides the woods getting
Ossiarch Bone Reapers got 30% better.
Yeah. This was a great fix.
30%.
Well, we fixed the machine gunning of Mystic Shield, which was a good fix because that was pretty toxic and awful.
Yeah,
and
they fixed it on Nagash previously. They must have just missed it on Archon. They went back and they got it on Archon. That's fine. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I'm sympathetic to the Archon players out there who are like, I liked it because it made Archon feel like less like a mini Nagash, and I liked him having his own identity. Cool, I get that. My solution isn't to let you do the like stupid thing that shouldn't exist, which is machine gunning Mystic Shields. It's to make Curse of Years great again. That's the hill you need to die on, Archon players. Make Curse of Year great again.
I agree completely with that. So,
but he can extend the range on endless spells now. So like stonks, right? Like,
sure. I mean, like I was just happy to see that he got that OBR got RDP fixed to how it should have been working in the first place, where you can use the thing multiple times.
Yep.
Hallelujah. That was a very happy moment for me to see that, because now you can give multiple units the critical +3 move.
That's the
as you should have been.
That's the big one.
You can give multiple units the was it reroll saves, right, or whatever.
Yep. Your shield wall, and if you're running the bludgeon, or Staliarch Lords is the one that people aren't talking about, but with our RDP the way it was, Staliarch Lords weren't doing what they wanted to do with their sort of disengage and playing like in these little like sort of turbine play style where they're running and charging and retreating and charging and like just really doing that. When you're only doing that with one unit, you're not playing Staliarch Lords, and so like now Staliarch Lords is turned back on. Like like there's a lot of really good. Like, it's the way it should have been. You still can't bludgeon and shield wall, but honestly, you probably shouldn't be able to, Like,
right, sure. Either you're doing offense or you're doing defense.
Right, and I think that's
I've always been a big fan of that kind of distinction.
Yep.
Right, because it's just there's sort of there's sort of an immediate ludonarrative dissonance when you can turn on like an all attacks and all like it's like if you can all out defense and all out attack at the same time. It was like, wait a minute, what? That's not right.
Yeah.
And there's like a thing you used to be able to do, right? Back when they were called fat or something different. I don't remember. But anyways. Yeah. So, that good. Yep. Great. Awesome. Happy. Things I didn't see that I expected to see. Should we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, I know I'm just talking here a lot, Meph, so I'm sorry. You got me fired up.
No, I'm letting you go, man. Like, I like being actually in the sort of more of the interviewer chair than the interviewee sometimes. So,
didn't see a fix to cogs. What do we need to know? What possible information couldn't you have? That you felt like Tzeentch getting 14 fate points a turn was like a reasonable number. That seemed appropriate to you.
Right.
The entire LRL army, like casting 1,000,000 times, that all seemed appropriate to you. Like all of these things were correct. Sure. Shackles is another one. I mean, the only thing that saves Shackles from being absolutely horrible is that like most people end up screwing themselves over with Shackles.
Right.
But yes, I agree. Shackles is another one. But like Cogs is so obviously broken, and I just cannot fathom how it hasn't been fixed. It's truly mystifying to me. But hey, here we are. What else didn't I see? Oh, no fix to Gotrek or change to Gotrek in any way, shape, or form. So I guess we're just assuming that 435 points is fine until the winter FAQ. Hard disagree on that. But sure, why not? Let's keep that little crazy ginger running around. That's fine.
I got a huge shout outs to David Griffin with the Gotrek t-shirts. One of the absolute best things I've ever seen a tournament do is like basically shame the cheese players and perfection. Like I loved it. That was amazing.
I mean, Tom was very proud of his shirt. So, there you go.
It's so good. Andrew Yells says BCB Bruce City Brawls next week. The 3K list can and will gain 27 fate points per turn.
Sure. Yeah, 100%.
That's all right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
reason,
I mean,
totally
yes,
reason.
like somebody said, is Gotrek winning tourneys? I don't see him in the top list unless I missed it. Tom had him in one of his 2 lists at NashCon. But I don't care about that. That's irrelevant. Okay, like that's completely irrelevant to the discussion. Like, we don't balance things solely on what goes 5-0 at tournaments, right? Like, first of all, that's like what ends up being at the top is largely a matter of luck. Who's in number 1 instead of number 7 is largely a matter of luck.
You got to have good matchups, or the dice got to be on your side. Something.
Sure, like it's yes, like you like. I'm not saying skill wasn't involved. Of course it was.
Well, you have a requisite amount of skill, and the tiebreaker's luck, right?
You had to have it. Yes, exactly. You had to have a tremendous amount of skill to get up into the top 10. That's why the same people are always in the top 10, right? Like if you look at it, it's the same murderer's row every time.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then where they fall in there is just a matter of like dice and luck and the scenario and the particular terrain and the army they have any piloting and just like whether or not they had chicken or fish that day, like a million little things, right?
Right.
Did they happen to deal like I was 3 wounds short on 1 battle tactic in my game 5. The difference for me between 11th and 3rd place was I needed to roll a 3+. If I rolled a 3+, like a 3 or more, I won the game and my opponent couldn't catch me and it was over and I won.
Right.
Okay. If I rolled a 1 or a 2, he won the game because it was power in numbers, which is a bad scenario. He won the game and it was over. Right. And that was it. And guess what? He rolled a 3. I rolled a 1. Yeah. That's what happens.
There you go. Colorado AOS, have we discussed that they completely broke Sylvaneth Wildwoods yet? We kind of touched on it.
Yes, we did. They lost the... they cannot navigate on the realm routes, and also they got rid of the pooping trees everywhere, which was probably actually a good thing. So I don't know that I'm super angry about that, but yes, they also broke them so that they can't use their allegiance ability, which seems like a minor oversight.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, I derailed you there.
No, you're good. So like Gotrek is broken because he's broken. Like, I don't know what else to say at that point value. Like, there are whole armies that can't kill him. That you could throw your entire army at him all game and he would just walk away and stand atop a pile of corpses. That is very real. So, like, fine if that's going to exist in the game, but let's not joke around that it's 435 points. That's comical. Comical.
Yeah.
The number of things that he flatlines that cost 200 points more than him, 300 points more than him, 400 points more than him.
With the exception of them
flatline
breaking
Archeon and walk away pretty easy.
Right. With the exception of them having broken ward saves, I wouldn't dare with Nagash a edition ago melee him. Nope. That's my 1,000 point melee wizard is just going to nope himself away from Gotrek.
Of course, because he's going to die instantly.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes Gotrek like 2 battle rounds to chop through Nagash, maybe.
Right.
If he has some bad rolls.
Right.
Right? Like he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so like and for everybody who's like just move away from him or he's slow, what that tells me is you have not played him in the new edition. And you are really showing your lack of experience
he's rallying toward you now. Like,
yes, he will redeploy towards you. He'll run the first turn and be in the middle, and like he's just gonna pick a point and be like, I'm here, come get me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, sure, I mean, and if he gets into your goods, which is not that hard, because he'll run 10 and then redeploy towards you, and then make an 8-inch charge, and then double activate and get 6 more inches deep into your line, and now he's in your guts.
Yep.
Okay. Like, it's just he's so like the nature of these objectives is he is definitely not avoidable. Now, sometimes you can do your best to get away from him. Like, I played a game against Varangard that could come chase down 22 inches, and I had to start creating 22-inch bubbles around them and still play the game. Okay. But like, yes, you can sometimes get away from him, but then there are also games like the Vice. And when my round 3 opponent had Gotrek, because I fought Gotrek twice, and he had Gotrek in the Vice, well, I guess he just gets to have the objective turn 4 and 5. The only objective is his. So he gets 2 points in turn 4 and 2 points in turn 5, and I get 0. And that's it. Because there's nothing in my army that can kill that thing. So fine. Like, the game isn't about killing, but he does it really well. And in a lot of missions, he can just own 2 points. And just be like, come here and you die instantly. That's what will happen.
Rank 1-1 says Sons of Behemoth players must really dislike Gotrek.
Sure, I mean, yes, because he lifts giants like it's nothing.
It's
basically he will kill a mega around.
Yeah, it's basically his job.
Yeah,
he'll body one no problem. Stormfiends wreck him, says Dreamer.
Can you take the Corn Dragon if it's over half your points? Yes. The GHB Battle Pack does not have the over half points exception. Only the Contest of Generals Battle Pack in the core rules has that. So if you are playing with the current set of GHB rules, you may have a single unit worth more than half your points. And then, let's see. Stormfiends wreck him. I guess. I'm not sure about that. I'd want to run the math on that. I'm not sure Stormfiends, even like 9 Stormfiends would bring down Gotrek consistently. I don't know what the math looks like on that. Maybe is my answer.
Yeah.
All their multi-damage weapons become 1. So that's nothing. He can easily, if he thinks he's going to get attacked, he can easily best day ever and then all out defense.
I love the new shorthands called best day ever.
Best day ever, yeah. So, like, it's pretty easy for him. Like, he should almost always be on a 3-up save, ignoring Rend 1, right? And so that zots out the rattling guns if you're using those, which are, like, sort of the big thing, because then you're 3s and 3s against the damage from them, and sparking does nothing against him. Like, if you spark the damage, it's irrelevant, because he can only take 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I mean, I attacked him with 25 zombies, all with +1 attack, twice. He took 2 wounds. And then he killed all 60 zombies.
I mean, I'm not surprised they're zombies, but still.
Sure. I mean, I put 50 attacks into him, right? Yeah. The thing that's supposed to kill him. I did 2 wounds.
Yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to kill him with the death from 1,000 paper cuts, right? That's supposed to be the way you kill Gotrek, and it's just
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Dreamer, I'd need to run the math. I would be really fascinated by what's happening in that game. Maybe someone's rolling really poorly on their word saves, or maybe the person running Gotrek doesn't know how to run Gotrek. Like, I don't know what to say there.
So I gotta ask. I've got this notion that like, a good way to identify whether it's good criticism or not is whether someone offers an alternative or a solution. What's your fix for Gotrek? Is it just points? Is it some meta stuff that's going on?
I don't know how to get in and rewrite his war scroll because he is what he is. He's supposed to be like this fearsome force from the old world. He's just the Terminator, right? Yeah. He's Charles Bronson in Death Wish. He just like walks towards you slowly, and when he gets there, you're dead.
Right.
So like I don't have a problem with that existing in the game. We've talked before about the mini that hits on ones, wounds on ones with neg 100 rend and hits for 100 damage, but moves 1 inch.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, like he's not unkillable. There are certainly things that can kill him. Mm-hmm. Like certainly if that unit of zombies, if somehow Gotrek had been cursed, well, they were already doing mortal, so that's not true either. I don't know. But like certainly something that puts a lot of attacks on him and has him cursed, that'll tend to make him explode because then you put him onto the 3-ups. Yeah. Like the 3-ups only, basically. I mean, he's hard. He's hard to bring down. He can also heal himself reliably every turn. So if you don't bring him down, he's going to heal a D3 every turn.
Right.
Right. But he's killable. He is. He's not like completely immortal. It's not like he's just unstoppable. It's just he's mostly unstoppable. The Terminator in the first Terminator was killable.
Right.
Okay. That didn't mean that Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor weren't in a lot of trouble. Okay.
Right.
Like, I think you've just got to start by saying the Terminator's more expensive. Like, certainly he should be in the 500s somewhere at minimum.
Right.
At minimum. The fact that he's almost the same points as a Keeper of Secrets, like, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Okay.
But yeah, there's ways you could fix him. But yeah, none of that happened. We did see the big change to Archeon to a point. It's interesting. I actually do think he lost his best defense.
Which was his Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran. Yeah, the Eye of Ed Sheeran.
The Eye of Ed Sheeran.
Yep. He is in fact in love with the Shape of You. And
the Shape of You is a bloody pulp.
And so like his ability to make you reroll 6s when you attack him was hands down the best special rule printed on his war scroll.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
So you're saying they correctly identified the right thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I am. Because like it meant you can't Dreamer said he can't stack his saves. You mean Gotrek? Yeah, he can stack his saves. He can have a +1,000,000 to save. He can't get above a 3+ because that's +1 to save, but he can stack up to 1,000,000 and ignore all the rend.
Right.
Like he can get Mystic Shielded, he can get Best Day Ever, he can do all-out defense on himself because he's a hero.
Best Day Ever is going to crack me up every time. This is like
sure, like he's got all sorts of save stacking.
Yeah.
Like it's just he just can't ever take him higher than 3-up. Right. But that's 3-up immune to rend, 3-up ward is pretty good. That's a lot of damage negated.
Plus
especially
the
when
reducing.
he also caps all damage at 1.
Yeah, he's dropping all the damage. That's the
yeah. So, anyways, back to the Eye of Ed Sheeran. Like that change to forcing your enemy to reroll 6s stopped almost all the stuff that would have brought down Archeon. Right, because so many things in the game trigger mortal wouns on 6s, extra hits on 6s. Yeah, like just on and on and on. It's the most popular thing to pin a special rule to.
It's a fun one too. If you talk about design, we're going to go into like our item design later on. It's a fun thing when you roll the 6, which is already like the dopamine hit from seeing the 6 on the die is already there, and then you get rewarded by it doing something sweeter. This is why I hate rules that like invert that dynamic where rolling 12 is bad. Like I hate that, right? Like I hate like just mechanically speaking. Like rolling a 12 should be the good. Oh, that's the best you should ever feel. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So they correctly identified the correct thing. Rerolling sixes is.
Yeah, it significantly weakens him. He'll still be super tough because
Well,
he can still be like 2-up ignoring most rend.
Right.
And rerolling saves in Zinch and blah 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 blah. But at least then if you do, have things that can 6-up mortal wound him or whatever, then he's down to his 4-up.
Right.
Right. Which is good.
Yeah.
Like then he's just a coin flip.
Yeah, real quick, Frank on the Rocks dropping a Twitch Prime, because Twitch Primes are free, everybody, so remember to use those, for 23 years of support. So thank you so much, Doc King. With Archeon, it feels a little bit of like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times as far as the FAQ goes. Because with Archeon, you see what I think is like the sort of boat racing minor adjustments. Like, sure. I didn't... With these things that feel kind of like right where you want them to. Like, what Chaos player, for the most part, who is an Archeon stan, doesn't want to play Archeon and feel like he is the Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse, right? Like, who doesn't want that? And you don't want to, like, do what Games Workshop has a nasty habit of doing, which is over-corrective steering this stuff into oblivion.
Although I'll say they've gotten a lot better about that recently. Like,
sure.
That was a big early problem. But, full credit where credit's due. They've taken a softer hand, and I think the game's better for the most part on that.
Right. And this was identifying kind of like the correct thing. They switched it to a once per game. So you can still best day ever, once per game, like on this turn I'm not going to die. But you got to make that decision.
I really like it because he has a built-in neg1 to be hit already in Zinch. Mm-hmm. So it's not really doing anything except countering out bonuses to hit then at that point. Right?
Yeah.
So again, good choice. Like, great fix. Like, I really liked the Archeon one. Mm-hmm. They identified the rule that was problematic and they fixed it. Right? Like, great. Well done. Good job.
They didn't go heavy-handed. They also had a bunch of changes hit Zinch. So, you're hitting sort of like indirect nerfs to what would be an Archeon list. That was, I think, some of the most prescient stuff they did with the FAQ was involving Archeon. Like, I'm like, yeah, cool, awesome. Real quick.
Yeah, we didn't see it. Oh, sure, go ahead.
Tristan dropping 1,000 RDP to remind everyone, chat gang, ain't nothing to mess with. What's good, y'all? Y'all are good, Tristan. You're good. And true. happy belated birthday, my friend.
Oh, goodness sakes. Happy birthday, Tristan. He is now one more year of his immortality as a Tomb King.
There you go.
There you go. So good fix there. We didn't see the Soulblight Gravelords or Lumineth or like who else didn't get updated?
Well, no, Soulblight did get they got reloaded. So it was appropriately like the Castlevania. It appeared and then it disappeared and it reappeared elsewhere. It just Castlevania'd you. It's back.
Yeah, but it's still not. Is it there now?
I think so. Yeah, I thought it was.
I didn't see it.
27/8/21 because they write their shit backwards. It's right at the front of the list.
Oh, is it now?
Yep. Artifact of Power, Morbeg's Claw.
Oh, there we go. Okay, cool.
They just fixed an oversight with it. That's fine. They wrote down their big list of move, retreat, yada yada. Like you're not supposed to be able to move afterwards, and they forgot to write run. So they added run. Cool, awesome. Like you can't run either. That's of course you use that thing, and then you get your +2 to.
Vile Transference apparently says now you should really use this against Mega Gargants.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like it's on 35 wounds you might do 5 mortals, like 5 points.
And then the clarification that Deadwalker zombies can go above their starting size,
which is hey, cool. Soulblight Gravelords aren't cheating when they do what they thought they were supposed to do with zombies in the first place.
Right.
So cool.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that update because the last I looked was I hadn't reloaded the page itself since this morning. So there we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no LRL, no FEC, no. Let's see, who else didn't get
Night Haunt, right?
Night Haunt, yeah, no Night Haunt, yes.
Mourngul got points. It pointed at 300, and Mourngul isn't horrible. So like it's like Night Haunt got an FAQ slightly because they might play with Mournguls now.
Yes, sure. Hey, that's always something, right? So I like. Will we see some changes to LRL to get rid of the horribly abusive stuff? I don't know. Maybe could happen. I suppose. Like, will we fix Huracan? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know.
Well, they broke Pylon again, which personally pisses me off.
We cannot get away from the double lock. We
Like
cannot. They love the double lock, my friend.
it was
Every time
it was
they
fixed.
launch an
It was
edition.
perfect.
Same story of second edition. Every time they launch an edition, they fix, but like pile in is fixed, and then they break it again.
Wait, why?
Every time.
Who asked the dumbass question? Like, people with FAQ questions never ask about pylon again when it's good. Just
Yeah.
fucking never do it. Moratorium on asking about pylon when pylon is good.
Yeah, so now once again you can charge people with two different units
Yep.
on the sides and then pin them in place so nobody can pile in.
Yeah.
Good stuff there.
Yeah. Way to go.
I think that's what we were all wanting. Yes. Having my units stranded and sitting there going, okay, I guess I can't do anything.
Just twiddling your thumbs.
I'll attack with these two guys. I think that was definitely what the community was crying out for. Spotted GW. Like, I just love how they can't get away from this nonsense and making things unintuitive. Because, like, you want to talk about a classic case of non-intuitive play, right? So, because imagine you're a new player and you're explaining this to somebody. You charge them with 2 units, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go take my unit and go over here and fight you. And you'd be like, no, 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 you can't, because you're getting farther away from this other unit. And they'll be like, yeah, but you're killing me. My people should fight you.
Yeah.
Why would they just sit there and die? And I'll be like, I don't know, man.
Well, I mean,
they do.
It just, I don't like the whole verisimilitude or lunar narrative dissonance takes too much. I try not to go to them, but like, what your character is just standing there in the middle of like 2 flanking forces and just like, I don't know, I don't know, like, you can't make up your mind who to hit. Like,
yeah, it's great. Like absolutely
they're
fantastic.
perfectly equidistant from me.
Oh, no! My one weakness: equidistant foes. Yeah. Okay. Like, sure. Let's. Yeah. Okay. So whatever. Some things continue to be silly. That's fine.
Yeah.
Such is life, I suppose.
But it really is the wards, right? Like, it's ward saves. Like, that is the like, if this whole FAQ had happened exactly the same, but they just didn't write one FAQ about fucking ward saves, we'd all be fine.
I'd be much more positive. I'll tell you that much for sure. Yeah. I like. I mean, I still feel bad for the Sylvaneth players, but like, that feels like an error. My honest answer is the ward thing feels like an oversight, and I really hope it gets fixed. Zippy quick.
I think we're going to get an emergency FAQ before the big FAQ that fixes it again, because
I
don't know. I've never seen such universal backlash to something. Even the like core battalions had more of a divide, and some people were like, okay, like, some of the things that they did that were, I would think, the most contentious. I could find people who were like, no, this is cool. Nobody's happy about the ward save situation. I would say no real person. There might be some bot accounts out there or people trolling me, but it's like Minecraft and adults. I don't think real adults, like actual adults, play Minecraft for their own enjoyment. I don't think they really exist. It's just a conspiracy.
I don't know. I just read an article about some people taking 9 years and reconstructing all of Middle Earth in Minecraft.
I haven't seen them. If I saw this article, you can't, unless these humans sit down in front of me and actually play Minecraft as adults and enjoy it without a camera on them. I'm gonna go with no. They just don't exist.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Taking a hard stance.
Yeah, I gotta. No, but yeah, like, I've never seen something so universally just noped by this community. Nothing.
Right, because it's obviously ridiculous.
Yeah. How does Facehammer feel about it, though? I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
They did. I haven't watched their video yet. They did an FAQ reaction show earlier today. I just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure it'll show up in there.
Any final thoughts before we move into our proper topic? We've gotten the I've gotten all the clicks and stuff. We did hot takes. We did a reaction video, which is what I guess you're supposed to do when you're a content creator.
Is there anything else I'm not thinking of that that was talked about? What is there anything else we didn't cover?
See, I mean, there's just things in here that don't, I don't know. Did Slanesh get anything? I don't seem to recall them.
Oh, there was a no, they did not. Of course not. Don't be
Yeah,
silly.
yeah, okay.
Um, oh yeah, here's the other fun one. They clarified that monster units, like units that consist of multiple monsters, each monster gets to use Monstrous Rampage independently. That's kind of a fun answer. Like because the nature of how Monstrous Rampage is capped in that there's basically only two that are actually usable in most situations. It was fine. So I thought it was cute.
Yeah, yeah,
That was cute.
yeah.
It's neat that your little unit of man crushers can both stomp and roar. So that's fun.
That's neat. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the big win was as like a death player. Like, again, Ward, disgusting. Please get rid of that. As a death player, I'm just in here. I'm like FEC FAQ win because I feel like they need some love. Night Hunt, I think, just kind of needs a new book. But I hate going to like needs a new book as a take. You could FAQ some Night Hunt and actually put them into like the sort of like Goldilocks zone of not OP, but like they can compete like pretty efficiently. I think they're close to that, and so you could nudge them in a couple ways and get them there. But
I
uh,
agree.
like construction wise, that army's got a lot of tools for making it like a list. They're just missing just a couple things to compete stronger, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, uh, yeah, you expect Night Hunt to have a book coming. I mean, I don't want to set anyone like at the train stop waiting for a train that never comes. I don't like hyping people that way, but yeah, Night Hunt could get a new book and it'd be welcomed.
I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of timeline we're talking about here. Everybody will get a new book eventually.
Eventually, yeah, yeah, yeah. And Flesh Eater Courts are just in a weird place for me as like I look at the army and I'm like, it seems like they've got the tools, and then they're always just because their stock is so heavy into like sort of a couple pieces, and they were using command abilities to really get the extra gas out of the army.
Sure.
It's so
Yeah, I mean, if you're not Bill Souza and you don't have an allied Mega Gargan, I'm not sure what your overall plan is there. But if you are Bill Souza and have an allied Mega Gargan, congratulations on your tournament win. Way to go, Bill.
yeah, right, right. So yeah, I mean but this is a lot better as far as again death goes. That's way better than only ever having one viable faction, and we've come a long way. I think Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I was saying before they got this change. I think they're a legit contender. Like they can play. You wouldn't be surprised to see Ossiarch Bone Reapers winning. That was even before I said this. Even before the slew of tournaments, you wouldn't be surprised to see them winning Best Death. I think Soulblight Gravelords are the favorite, but this army's good. Like the
Yep.
value in the War Scrolls is there, and now that they've got like some extra gas in the tank, you're going to see them a little bit more. If they don't fix ward saves, Nagash, Petrifex Nagash or Petragash is back. Like YOLO Solo Nagash is just gonna run roughshod on people. And
Well, let's hope they fix the saves.
yeah,
But
they need
yes,
to. They should because I don't want to shelf Nagash out of like respect for people. I want to
sure.
disrespect people and play this like old janky thing and beat them with it.
I understand. No, Soulblight's good. Like Soulblight, I really like Soulblight. I watched Brendan play again this weekend.
Yeah.
I am glad that they didn't fix the Vampire Lord. It's hilarious to me that they didn't fix the Vampire Lord.
Right.
It's wonderful that Brendan still gets to keep cheating with the Vampire Lord. Um, like I just don't think they're. I literally don't think they're aware of it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So the
It's
Vampire Lord cheat is absolutely comically, obviously wrong, and yet here we are, and it survived 2 rounds of FAQs. So
well, I think what somebody said to me on Twitter is the truth in that it just wasn't in the common parlance yet. Like all the Soulblight Gravelords players were like, we're not sure if this is a thing, and I'm sure they sent a couple FAQs, but without like the data, without a couple homers, like with that direct channel uh to Games Workshop or to whatever their R&D team is or whoever's fielding all the FAQs. Like I don't pretend to know their internal process. It feels like some of these things get overlooked just by virtue of like visibility. Like
yeah, sure. Like no one's actively playing that army, and so they don't catch it.
right,
Yeah,
right. And if they are, maybe they weren't running that piece. But now it's starting to get out into the conversation, and once it's out in the conversation, then they're going to have to say something, and they will.
yes. So somebody in your chat asked, "What is the Vampire Lord cheat?" Sure, I'll explain the Vampire Lord cheat. The Vampire Lord has an ability that is usable in the combat phase to give everybody to give a unit. I'm sorry, not everybody. To give a unit, everybody in a unit, +1 attack. The trick is, unlike almost all combat phase abilities like this, that +1 attack lasts until your next hero phase. So during your turn, in your combat phase, you give a unit +1 attack. Now that's on there. And then it's your opponent's turn. And in their turn, in their combat phase, you give your unit +1 attack. Now they have +2. And then in your, let's say they double turn you. In their next combat phase, you give your unit +1 attack. You still haven't had a hero phase. Now they're up to +3. If you really want to be a boss hoss, then you take the what's it called, like Pack Alpha or whatever command trait, where you can issue a command once a round for free, or once a turn, sorry, for free. And then you just get to have the Vampire Lord doing it. You don't even have to worry about it disrupting your other command point strategy. So suddenly, by the time, like, every round that goes by that you aren't getting hero phase, your units are just getting more and more disturbingly
like
powerful. Just like, whoa, just charging up, baby.
Yeah. It's the Vampire Lord on foot. It's the one on
Vampire
foot.
Lord on foot.
Yeah, it's the one on foot. And then if you factor in Van Hels, that like +6 attacks is +12 attacks. Woo!
It's pretty great. Yeah, it just multiplies.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So, anyways, yeah, that's the Vampire Lord cheat. It's like, it's so obviously incorrect, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that they missed it.
Yeah, so big FAQ. I think that's the sort of that will go away by then. But for now, man, if you bought your ticket, you're on the roller coaster. Ride it, baby. Let's go. You already bought the Vampire Lord.
No carnival, no games, bro. Right.
Yeah. And then obviously, I'm positive. I feel very good about Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So, death 50, like, 2 out of 4 ain't bad for me. Like walking out of an FAQ. It's so weird that that's the reaction for me these days. Is whenever an FAQ comes, I'm like, oh crap, what did they break in my army? Like that's become my like reaction to FAQs. It used to feel like hopeful.
Oh, I have one more small item, Matt.
Oh, okay, yeah.
One more small item, and then we can be done. They finally fixed Longshanks. How
Yes!
about that?
Yes.
It's here. It only took us this long, but finally, it works. You can just walk over people. It's still not as good as the Imperial Knight equivalent that it should have been, where you can just leave combat and like basically disengage and then recharge or shoot or whatever. That's how it should be. There should be like a restriction that if you're not fighting a monster or something, that you can just leave combat and walk away.
Yeah.
But I understand the power of that. And I understand why they didn't want to do it. And that's fine. I'm not going to die on the hill. At least the ability is actually useful now. It didn't need that stupid 4-inch thing. Why did that ever exist? I will never understand who thought that was a good idea. Somebody is just, I don't know, whatever. Not going to get into it. But it's gone now, and it's just they can walk over terrain when making normal moves or
moves, runs, everything but charges.
Everything but charges. Yes.
Everything but charges. And I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of good here. I don't care
right.
I don't care about it doesn't work on charge. Honestly, it's probably fine. Like whatever.
Yeah.
You can move into position prior to the charge to be able to do what you're trying to do anyway, right? Like
100%. It's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yay! That was a reason for celebration. I read that and was genuinely happy. I clapped. So there you go.
Right.
Yeah, so that's FAQ talk. Thank you for coming to FAQ talk.
All right. So, do you want to set up what this is and how this was born? Do I need to pull up the bad magic items so that everyone knows the context for this?
Let's do that. So, in this game right now, a long time ago, we had this thing called Realm Artifacts. And Realm Artifacts were mostly bad. There were a lot of them, and most of them were terrible. But there were a few that were pretty good, and a lot of people took. And then they decided we weren't allowed to have fun with those anymore, and they got rid of those. And for a while, we had no options. And then they gave us the new Realm Artifacts, which were mostly bad, except for one which was marginally okay, which was the Plate of Perfect Protection or whatever it's called. And then they got rid of those. And now in 3.0, we have 4 universal artifacts. 4, Meph. 4 universal artifacts.
2 of them are good.
Not 84. like the old list in Realm Artifacts. No, just 4. And out of that list of 4, 2 are any good. So we bat 500, which given if you were batting 500 in the MLB, you're like, they're clearing the way for you to get into the Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
But hitting 500 on rules when there's 4 artifacts, that's not a great ratio. That's not at all.
Nope.
A great ratio. And my comment to you was, there is no way we couldn't make better artifacts than these very easily. Okay. Like, it's not hard. How have we screwed this up this bad? How can we not get at least 4 interesting artifacts?
Right.
Are you serious over here, guys?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And part of this was born of the like Dungeons and Dragons wacky magic items like thing.
Yes.
One of them was a sword that inflicts emotional wounds, you know?
Yes. Which I contest is, somebody was like, these are dumb magic items. And they were like, a sword that inflicts only emotional wounds. And I was like, my God, that is the most powerful magical item I have ever heard in my life. Like, good Lord.
I personally was a big fan of Angry Shoes just because it's the sort of thing where I describe it and like you don't know what the rules for that might be and you're just left to your imagination. And so I love an imaginative thing. And just to sort of ground this a little bit more in AOS.
And both of us, by the way, being role players, are big fans of weird, wacky magic items for long years. We both played games for a long time. We've both had our share of flame tongues and frost brands and, Vorpal swords and everything else that you might want. Like, all that's fine. We've been there. We've done that. So now we need something a little spicier to get us up and going in the morning. And so, we like weird magic items. We like when things are cool. So here we are.
Right. So, and I mean, for as far as AOS, I think if you're going to do the sort of like rote sort of, okay, everyone gets a +1 to hit, everyone gets a, can be a spellcaster, so on and so forth. Like, they're just down the list they go through and they're like, these are 3 artifacts that everybody gets. That stuff goes into your battle tome. If you're talking about like 4 items that everyone gets to pull from, they should be interesting. They should do something unique, and they should try to maybe pull you away from your sort of just numbers to do something cool. Like one of my big sort of, I guess, design philosophies, one of my first principles if I were to design magic items is any time that you're looking at you're adding arbitrary numbers or arbitrary value, jettison them. They're not interesting enough. Like, if you're trying to make something interesting, from my perspective, is just numbers and arbitrary values are by definition not interesting.
Right. Well, I mean, they're going to be the most interesting thing in the world if we're talking about just what people take, sort of in the aggregate, because like they're so obviously good that they immediately trip everyone's spike sense.
Yep.
And like ultimately, this game is at least somewhat about winning. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how non-spiky you are, no matter how Timmy or Johnny you live, like, it is still a competitive game. So something about what we're doing here is at least partially about winning a game.
Yeah.
Right. And people generally don't like losing their toys. That's kind of a bad thing for everybody. So 5 up is like, yep, okay.
Yep.
And then the Arcane Tome is like, well, magic is good. Making people who aren't wizards is good. So that's like a Spike Johnny crossover item. That one's right in there. And then the other 2 are so bad, I don't even know what they are, Meph. I don't even have them in front of me, and I didn't bother to learn them. So I hope you've got your book in front of you or something.
Nope.
I can bring up my core.
No, I don't think it's important.
Yeah, they're so bad they're not even worth mentioning. Like, literally, it's irrelevant.
Like, didn't even bother internalizing them. This is how I save mental bandwidth. Is if something's bad, and like I can't even Johnny sense it. Like, you get like, you look at it and you're like, I can break this, or like I can use this in a combo. Like, if my Johnny sense doesn't even trip from the bad thing, because if you're like a Johnny Timmy, you'll look at the bad thing and be like, how can I make this work? And so even a bad magic item, if it's like sufficiently wacky or weird or does something unique, you'll be like, okay, how can I do something with this, right? And that's good enough. They're so uninteresting that they tripped neither my Johnny nor Timmy sense, and it's clear they weren't Spike.
Right. Yep. Completely agreed. So like
go ahead.
they're just nothing burgers.
Mhm.
Like literally just complete nothing burgers. There's two buns there, nothing in between the bread.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. And there's I mean this is for me, like I said, mental bandwidth thing is like I won't even if I don't even register your thing, it goes back to the worst thing you can be is boring.
Yep.
Like it's just and if you're not giving me something to like even want to register you in my mind, like you have fucked up in a game that's supposed to be fun and interesting.
Right.
So what makes a good magic item? Just broadly speaking, what makes a good magic item in Age of
Sure.
Sigmar?
Okay, great question. What does make a good magic item? So I would fit good magic items, broadly speaking, into three categories, Meth.
Okay.
Three.
Okay.
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 Category the first provides an outsized bonus that is worth dedicating the one or maybe one of two of a resource, because that is, say, artifacts are a scarce resource when things come down to it,
Yep.
right? In general, you get one or two, right? And so it provides a static bonus that is worth having because it is otherwise unavailable, expensive, or requires or unstable in its application elsewhere in your army. Okay? So let's take some examples. The Soulblight Gravelord's D plus, what is it, D3 attacks or 3 attacks or whatever, blah, blah, blah thing that people put on the Velazda's lance. Right? There's plenty of ways to get bonus attacks in Soulblight Gravelords. Right?
Yeah, we just talked
but
about
people still like that artifact because it marries extra attacks with no cost, effectively, like in game, that is to say, it can't be denied, right?
Right.
Into this thing that I want to be better, like the Velazda's attacks, right? So these are sort of rote bonuses, but applied well.
Right.
Okay. And I think there is value in that, right? I think we sort of like, I think we kind of undercut ourselves.
I mean, early on, I was already kind of jettisoning boring numbers from my design principles, and you're like, no. Let me speak.
Right? Yeah, I mean, like an artifact that's like, I don't know, +1 to save, and and something else, right? You'd be like, yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, that's where you're kind of breaking like action economy or buff economy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and so they could be very rote effects, but still valuable. They might just be numbers, or it might be something like run and charge all the time, run and charge and shoot and charge, whatever, or run and charge or retreat and charge, right? Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is going to lead into my second category, okay? Because that was sort of my second category. My second category is strategy enablers. Okay? So strategy enablers are like that run and charge or run and shoot artifact could be part of that. Things that are
the knowing eye in the knowing eye in Beasts of Chaos unlocks you wanting to play all herd, because you're like you start seeing how many like command points you can generate, or how many command points you can generate, which turn into summoning points, and so now your whole strategy becomes this big summoning game. It completely changes.
And it could be like your whole strat, or just enable another wing of your strats, right? Like you could have 3 different strats in the game, and this one turns that sub strat on, right? And that would be fine,
right?
So that's one. The Morbeg's Claw or whatever.
Morbeg's,
yeah. Sure. The one that you can like just give everybody around you +2 to cast, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly it's like, okay, your magic strat, your magic game just got a lot better, right? You can rely more on your spells.
Right.
So that's like it's built something out of your
now your necromancer is guaranteeing the Van Hells, which is a huge deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It sort of opened up some new avenue, right, of how you play. Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's a good magic item.
Yep.
It's the main one.
And the third category of interesting magic items are things that have a random but insanely bigly outsized effect. Okay.
Random but bigly is how I'm
correct. Now Spike hates these. This is important to note. Spike will disagree with my category here, but Timmy will love these. Okay. So this is like the Oaken Club of the Giant or whatever. That like every time you die, roll a die on a 4-up, you don't die. Right?
Yeah.
You come
This
back.
is sort of Japan. This is sort of Judgment, like through and through. Like,
Sure. Like it's this wacky outsized effect, but it's sort of randomly tripped. Right? There's not a huge number of those in the game, but they're around. The Nurgle's Nail, the Sphere, whatever, bronze orb. There we go. Thank you. That those kinds of things, right? Like, oh, I'll just instantly slay Archeon because I rolled a 6 or whatever, right? Like those make for good magic items. People don't take them in a lot of top tournament lists, which is fine.
mm-hmm.
That's fine. But people take them in a lot of lists, and there's a difference there, right? Because they're bigly random. They're not going to be a top table because you're not going to get to work all 5 games.
Right.
No issue. But for your home games and the stuff that you're playing with, it's like wacky fun time adventure. Man, these are the kind of things you love to see in a book, right?
Yeah.
Because they will happen sometimes, and you'll be like, "Oh, he's dead! I got you with the ball."
Yeah. Yep.
Eat my ball, Archeon. You're dead.
I was sweating. Midnight Orb. One just derpy ass necromancer throwing the orb at my Nagash one day, and I'm like, if this fucking necromancer kills the supreme lord of the undead with a stupid ball, I'm gonna lose my shit. Just roll that 1 and 6, Yeah.
So stuff like that is fun, right? That's the third thing that makes a good magic item to me. So either like good magic items are either things that have numbers that are just solid that you can rely on. That's the spike friendliest magic item. You notice these aligned to the 3 psychic graphics.
I know, I got you. Like that episode is the gift that just keeps on giving. Everyone should go actually stop my show right now, come back to the VOD later, and
keep watching. Keep watching. Okay. It's gonna be around.
Yeah.
2 is a strategy enabler. That's your Johnny loves those, right?
Yep.
And then 3 is your outsized rando effect. That's your Timmy type, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are what make good artifacts.
Right.
It's just simple math, right? And so then you just got to figure out what does that, what meets that bar. And like once a game you can do it, and on a 3-up you do a mortal wound if you roll over their bravery, is not that.
Nope.
It's like the worst of all 3, and there are items like that exist, and I'm just like, I don't. Why?
Who's this for? I mean, I think it's really important to ask when you make an item, who's this for? Who's going to take this?
Yep. This is the area where they could do the most to start thinking, the designers, to start thinking in a Johnny Timmy Spike way. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean it's also like the easiest shit to fix if you get it wrong.
Right.
I mean, on one hand, it's just numbers. If it's the numbers are out of line, it's a +2 instead of a +3. Like people are taking this too much. It's a +2 now instead of a +3. These are the easiest things to throttle, especially when they're in your GHB or whatever, like because they're your generic for the year or for the season. Season rules. This should be where I feel like, as a designer, you get to let your imagination go a little bit more wild, because the repercussions. The gamble, the trade-off, the risk to reward factor for sort of making someone's day and really like sort of bringing something extra to the play is so much higher.
Right.
So design dangerously when it comes to your magic items. I'm going to steal one of your adages and just reappropriate it for magic items.
I like it. I also like to live dangerously.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the other 2, by the way, because I brought up the books because I had to remember. The Vial of Manticore Venom. Pick one of your weapons, add +1 to wound. Great. Introduce that in the edition that caps bonuses to hit and wound at 1 when +1 to wound is already scattered around enough. And the Seed of Rebirth, you can re-roll heroic recovery rolls for the bearer. Ho! You spoil me with this luxury. My God.
Oh, man. Real quick. Now I know why I jettisoned them from my mind. Andrew yells, you got to make things that change your whole strategic approach or make a sick tactic, which is exactly what he was.
Andrew is a Johnny, and he gave the Johnny answer, right? That's my second category.
Yep. No, it was literally, it was funny. I think he said it as you were starting to get into them, and I just caught it on the delay. So it's really funny that you were 100% in the line there.
Yep.
Go big or go home with magic items. 100% kicker. So I made 3 items. Now I don't know that they're
Okay.
going to correlate directly to you because I noticed my numbers are my spike is somewhat lacking.
Sure.
But I think the
You're
first one
That's
go,
fine.
might
I don't
actually.
think you're a very spiky person.
Yeah, not really. I've got that. I've got that like base amount of competitiveness, even a little bit more of a like. It's like a core of competitiveness that everyone has, but mine's a little bit amped up, and then that's kind of it. It's not that Spike is inherently competitive, but you know, I'm
Right.
far more interested in expressing something than proving something. Like it's
Yes,
when my
that's what I'm saying.
combos work, I'm just like I told you this would work. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like
Right.
I'm so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So my first one is it's just Thermal Rider Cloak. I'm like it's just Thermal Rider Cloak.
It's just Thermal Rider Cloak, but again,
It's just
yes.
Thermal Rider. Like I
Mobility and flight, fantastic. They could have dropped one of the 4 in. They could have called it Thermal Rider Cloak. I would have been like, this is the greatest day of my life. My flying steam tank is back. We fixed it. You did it, GW.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah.
It's fine.
Like I think Thermal Rider Cloak actually fits kind of two of your axioms. It fits the sort of like outsized bonus or value because
Mm-hmm.
not only do you get fly, but it gives you a bonus to movement.
Yep.
And it's guaranteed, baby. Like you're not rolling any dice; it just happens.
Right.
But then it's also
Right.
unlocking some strategy.
Yep.
I
Because now
mean,
you can have that flying stone horn going in deep,
yeah,
right? Or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things already in the game that you have to account for that fly that I don't see it as maybe 100 years ago with Age of Sigmar. It might have been like, oh, okay, just being able to randomly give something fly. Ooh, I don't know what that does to the economy of the table play. Right now, nah, man, it's just Thermal Rider Cloak. That's my first magic item as one of the 4.
First of all, I love it. I support it. I think you're exactly right. I have no pushback on this. I second the motion.
Um, my second one's a cop out.
Okay.
It's the Splode Orb, the brass orb, but it does 2
Mm-hmm.
things, and it's available for everyone. On a 6-up, slays. If you want to, you can put some sort of like caveat to it, like it can't slay a model with X wound, too many wounds, right? Like it can
Nah,
only.
you just make it so it has to do it like the brass orb, where it has to target the closest enemy unit. So you got to position it right.
Sure. But if it's a single model, it can slay out right on a 6-up. If
Mm-hmm.
it's a unit, you do it's a horde killer, a horde breaker. So however you
Love
want
it.
to assign that, like a five
Yes.
on a 5-up.
Love it. Great. Very Johnny-ish. Multiple rolls.
So it does
It's
two
nice.
does 2 things. Make it a
Mm-hmm.
once per game. So
Yep.
on a once per
Of
game, you
course.
might slay Archeon outright,
Keep
or
it
you can
short range. Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
can you can stick your knockout board sweeper a unit, like
Love it.
or like 5-ups slay roll for every model in the unit if it has a wound characteristic of 1 slay it outright.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's 2, and number 3. This is going to be D&D story time. One of my absolute favorite items that always ends up in all the random treasure piles is the Cape of the Mountebank.
Good old Cape of the Mountebank. Yes, absolutely. I've been trying to find one in our current D&D game. These things are like rooster teeth in my game right now. Because I'm sure my GM doesn't want to give my rogue, who gets into lots of ridiculous shenanigans as I try to rob Waterdeep blind, teleport. So
Well,
there you go.
I mean, the thing is, they like even in 5th edition, they've like significantly nerfed it from before. I think it actually takes a full-on action to activate. Like before, it was
That
like
sounds right.
movement or something
But
like.
it gives you lightly obscured now, so it does do something. But
Yeah,
anyways, yeah, I
yeah,
get your point.
yeah. So it's like they've worked to rein it in, and parties will always find ingenious ways to use it anyway.
Sure.
It's one of those, and so I think a teleport, an item that gives teleport in some manner, it could be a once per game. You can limit it, must not be in combat type thing, because I know some people hate teleporting out of combat. But just a once per game teleport, I
Sure.
think, unlocks some strategies. Being able to redeploy with a unit. Hell, if you have a redeploy and if you want to stack some efficiency on top of it, redeploy and then on a 5-up can shoot or charge. So like you can go for the 9-inch
I love it.
charge. Just
I love it.
simple, straightforward. Do 2 things. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not throwing like word soup at anybody. Just straightforward. I think the sort of items that not every book has access to stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
and it really just sort of unlocks just potential for other armies. I maybe my weakest one is actually the teleport, but in the right hands, they're going to be looking at that and going like, "Oh yeah."
I get it. Do you mind, Meth, if I step away for just a moment? I need to go help my wife with
No,
something.
go
She
ahead.
just
I'll talk to Chat Gang for a little bit.
if you can chat gang. I apologize. When my wife texts you, it's good to answer. So give me like 5 minutes. Be
Yeah,
right
no,
back.
take your time. Take your time. Mr. Meth and Vince, serious question. If I rock up to the tournament with a bunch of rocks that I made look like a rogue idol, do you think that would be okay? Um, I personally think it's okay, Hades. Most people tend to be pretty receptive of you putting in effort, and that's the main thing. If it's literally a pile of rocks, maybe not. Like it's just like you've like super glued some rocks into like a clump on a base, probably not. But if you've like tried to make it look like an automaton or like in the sort of like a semi-humanoid, I think that's totally fine. Personally, I think you might even get some cool points for it being literal rocks, and rocks are sweet, especially if you have like some geodes and shit in there. That'd be super dope. Uh, James is a camel confirmed. This is Doggo. Doggo James. Did something happen with Doggo James? Oh no. Oh yeah, no, that'd be excellent. Sounds like rock pile snobbery to me. No, I think I personally think it'd be cool. Obviously, consult with your TO always. But I personally think it would be cool. And the community tends to be very, very responsive and receptive to effort. So put the effort in, and no one cares. Uh, Andrew Yells and Hotspur both dropping 1,000 RDP to remind everyone that Chat Gang ain't nothing to fuck with. I'm out gonna watch AEW. Oh, how good is Punk being back? I actually, I simultaneously hate. CM Punk is one of those universally beloved wrestlers, so I hate him for it. I hate how liked that person is. But it's kind of awesome. I will not be dancing. No, thank you. No one wants to see that. Doggo James is fine. He got a trim because he is hot and he drinks water once a day for 3 minutes straight. Good. Doggo James. Yeah. Doggo James is great, Doggo. Um, really chill for a Pomeranian. Um, love AEW. Oh, AEW has reignited the spark in me for wrestling. They remember that wrestling should be fun and entertaining. Uh, might get the wood fence mask. Like actually just break off a chunk of a fence for its mask and then like paint on it. There you go. Going to All Out next week. Whoo, hell yeah. One of my buddies just got back from might have been a house show. I don't know. Maybe what pay-per-view was like has just passed. They might have been at that. Orange Cassidy wrestled. I don't remember who he wrestled. Orange Cassidy wrestled though. Oh yeah, that sucks. But at least they're being responsible, right? No, I again effort, 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 effort. Effort is king. Um, Sylvaneth players are mad. Anyone have any questions about MAQ or FAQ before? Might have been Matt Hardy. It's literally a $5 piece of styrofoam. I think the rocks will be cooler. Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega versus Pac is my favorite match of all time. All right, later, dude. Enjoy AEW. Anyone have any FAQ questions they want me to address? Anything like that? We can go back to it because I know some of y'all missed the beginning part of the show. Should I use the FAQ in my tournament tomorrow? My gut. Easy time to make an old '90s pop reference. My mind keeps telling me no, but my body keeps telling me yes. My gut says no. Um, but it's your tournament, and what does your gut say? Um, I think the ward stuff alone is enough to kind of be like, no. And some of the tournament, some of the changes to the battle plans. I mean, those two things would make me hesitant to change it. With the new Longshanks, do they have to completely finish the move over the terrain? That's an interesting one. Let me check the reading. Let's go to the tapes. Huh?
Hey, I'm back. Thank you all. Apologize.
So with the new Longshanks, do they have to finish? I don't think they'd have to finish. I think you could change the rule to when this unit makes a normal move, run, or retreat, it can ignore other models of terrain features. So it can ignore, meaning if you want to, you can end partially up the terrain feature if you'd really like to do that.
Yep.
So
you just can't end within 3 inches of an enemy, as per normal. So.
Right. So yeah, if you want to, you can Longshanks your way halfway up a building. What were the most impactful FAQs? Because the ones I saw didn't seem that impactful. Single-handedly, the ward save is just dumb-tastic. It's again, I think it's the most reviled thing I've ever seen in an FAQ.
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So that's like number one. Number two, the change to KO might be pretty upsetting the longer the community gets to sit with that change. Right now, I don't know.
Sure, once they realize the evil of the thing.
Right. Yeah, so I think that might be number two, and if I were to do number three, let me think. The
Sylvaneth Woods screw up.
Yeah, I guess that would be, yeah. And then like totally just removing an ability from an entire army would probably be number three.
Yes. Hades, it's a lot to explain, but non-ward save wards are now all stack again accidentally. And they stack with wards and bodyguards and everything else. So all the old worded stuff that doesn't say ward. So it's all problematic. It's clearly stupid. Hopefully it gets fixed on Monday when they come back in the office.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Eye of Sheeran change is good. I actually think it's a quality change.
Sure.
I think that's actually like identified the correct problem, changed it in a way to where it's still impactful and it feels like you have an ability that's meaningful, but now you're not just an unkillable, just kind of punching above your weight class and people's entire armies can't stop it type god situation. What was
the KO change is that in the Alpha Beast pack, you can replace the D6-inch pregame move with a fly high. So you can teleport with basically your entire army and 2 boats to anywhere you want on the board before the game begins, and then go weapons free.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and the OBR change is good, absolutely. It's it's like a 30% buff to the army. It's just good. It's what they mostly want. I know some people want to be able to use bludgeon and shield wall in the same phase. I don't care about that personally. I think it's fine that you have a choice between offense and defense. I think one of the main problems for Ossiarch Bone Reapers going into the NPE zone is when they have the best offense and the best defense on the same thing. And I would like to stay out of the danger zone. Even if I don't think it's a problem, I would like to stay out of the danger zone because I want to play my army without walking up to the table and people going, ugh, every time.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So stay as long that's where like I've heard this iterated a couple different ways and worded a couple different ways. But the basic premise is I want my army to be like A tier or B tier. I want to be out of the S tier with the armies I play. Because I want to one, let my skills show through and my decision making. I want to Johnny my way to the big finish, right? So I want to have something that's good, doesn't put me on the back foot, but requires me to play it well and think about. And furthermore, I don't want something that my opponent starts out feeling negatively and then I spend half the game winning them over to having an enjoyable game. Like, I've done it. I have my, like, best sports with Nagash when he was peak the most hated single model in the game, which is the Nagash Grimghast Reaper, plus 60, or 30 and 40 skeletons seasoned to taste if you were that type of a player. Like, I played Nagash in that landscape in the Midwest where there was a particular amount of hatred for that single model. UK viewed him a little bit more favorably, and I won a best sports on that. But that's because every game I played with that model, most of the time I was like the PR guy and trying to prove to people that no, I really do just love this character, which obviously I have an entire show and stuff and people know now, but back then, no. Like, you're basically having to PR for your army and prove that you're one of the people who actually loves it, and you're not just playing it because it's busted or bent or whatever the public perception is of it. And I like to be in that place where people let me be me and play the game with them in a manner that they're going to enjoy. So,
Logical.
yeah. Can Bellicor stop Fly High?
Yes. No, sorry. No, I apologize. No, he cannot. He cannot stop Fly High because Fly High is instead of normal move. So you always get to do it, and he doesn't have it on his list.
Can Moss grow on painted rocks? I don't believe so.
I've never had an issue with, like, because your rocks are generally going to be varnished and painted and stuff like that. So no, I've never had an issue. I have rocks I painted, God, 20 years ago. I've never had an issue. I mean, I've never tried to get them wet and leave them outside. So I don't know. I mean, I guess anything's possible. Life finds a way. That's what Jurassic Park taught me. But if we're talking about holding it in a relatively dry space, I don't think you have any issues.
Yeah. So to sum it up, it was mostly a fuck up with a few good things here and there. I think it was mostly like layups, to use Vince's earlier metaphor. It was mostly layups with a couple just perplexing changes.
Yeah. I think it was mostly fine. Like, we were highlighting the big impactful things, right, which were kind of screw ups, but there was good stuff in there. Like, it was mostly just like yep, cool, yep, cool.
Yeah,
like that was my reaction reading most of it.
Yeah, and again, I usually, like, a good litmus test for me is, like, honestly, like, think about your armies and your armies your friends play. Like, think about your direct circle and ask your direct friends. I'm not caring about the internet hot takes and what the aggregate of every Zinj player in the world. Like, the Steinbeck rule was like, writers are all taught, to know your audience, right? Steinbeck had, like, the galaxy brain take, which probably means it was, yeah. Steinbeck had the galaxy brain take, which is the same as the Miyazaki take, which is like, actually your audience can just be an audience of one, and you think about that one person when you make art or when you make something.
Sure.
I feel that that's similar when you're trying to, like, get empathy for other people. You don't have. It's really difficult to think about 100 people. So just kind of, like, find a couple and think about what they think, or ask them what they think, and then you don't need that to be a prescriptive judgment on all Zinj players, but it's going to help you have a little bit better understanding of, like, what might be going on. And if you get a couple people that you respect and are in your direct circle and you value equally their opinions, but they have two different opinions, you're going to start gaining a really good sort of empathetic sort of broad take on what's going on. And
Yep.
And so, like, my first check is, like, what had happened to my armies. Cool. Awesome. And then my second check is what happened to all my friends' armies. And that's usually, like, the thing is like, that doesn't help you with the game state, and the game state is they broke ward saves. So.
Yep.
But I think on an individual level, like, a lot of good stuff, or just like, yeah, whatever. Maybe wanting a little bit more, whatever. But
But the headlines are the headlines. Like, you don't tune into the news and hear, today a lot of normal things happened. Things were mostly fine. No, you tune in and it's like, person shot.
Yeah.
Disease spreads.
Hurricane.
Fires, the house burned down, hurricane coming. Not like, you don't tune into the weather and it's like, normal weather in most places. That's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. So again, there you go. We re-summarized it. So jumping back into magic items here, we talked about, like, what you talked about, your three things that make a good magic item. Provides an outsized bonus. They're strategy enablers, or they're random but bigly. So, do you have, like, a handful of items that you'd put on your list of 4? Are there?
Oh, you bet I do, buddy.
Okay.
You bet I do.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Here we go. All right, so first things first, I want to fix the Seed of Rebirth. It's a great idea, and a heal should be a type of thing you can use in the game. But instead of making it some dumb Gyran flavored nonsense of the Seed of Rebirth, instead, we're going to call it the Amulet of the Berserker. Okay? And the Amulet of the Berserker works like this. All right? If you slay a model in combat, in the combat phase, at the end of the combat phase, you heal a D3 wounds. In addition, your bravery counts as 10 for heroic recovery. Okay? Now, what this means is it's good on sort of melee heroes, not as good on non-melee heroes, right? It encourages you to get in there and play the game. It does allow you to heal up to 2d3 per turn. Like if you're in combat and fighting, right? Because you could heroic recovery every turn, and you could do this, right? But you have to be out there to get that full bonus. You can't just be sitting on your hands, right? You got to be out there mixing it up.
Yeah.
So that's my fixed Seed of Rebirth. They've always been so scared of healing in this game, and then they just they've just seemingly don't care and have handed it out now like in giant ways to some characters. I want to give it to the everyman. The problem with healing, my friend, is that the 1% have claimed all the healing. I want to give it to every man.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. That's my first item. My second item, okay, is going to be my simplest one. Okay? It's just the simplest thing in the world, but especially in the current game state, if we're not going to fix save stacking, then it should exist. You ready? I've got two versions of this. I'll let you pick the one you want.
Okay.
Here's the first version. It's the boring version. Okay? And it's called the Sword of Sharpness. And the Sword of Sharpness has -3 rend. Easy. Okay? That's version 1. That's the boring version. But it works. Just choose a weapon you have. Can't be on the mount, of course, as always. That's how the rules work, right? Choose a weapon you have. It gets now -3 rend.
I like sorry, I don't want to. This comment's too great.
The hammer and sickle of healing.
The hammer and sickle of healing.
For the people. That's right. We're going to redistribute the healing.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that. Bless. Sorry. Okay. Type 1, boring, rend 3. Got it.
Yes. So that's fine. That would be a perfectly fine item, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's straightforward, but it's fine. Here's option 2. Choose a single weapon you have. Okay? The rend of that item increases by 1. Okay? It's a melee weapon. This is melee only, not shooting, right? We don't want to encourage this. Both of these are melee only, by the way, I should state. So choose a single melee weapon you have. The rend of that increases by 1. In addition, anytime you roll a 6 to wound, -5 rend.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right? I put it on the wound, so it's not double triggering with all the 6 to hit things that a lot of characters have, right?
Yeah.
So it can still work. It's less powerful than mortal wounds, to be honest, right? I mean, that's what it's generally doing. Most times it's less powerful. But it's definitely the Sword of Sharpness, where it's like, oh, crit, boom. Boom goes your arm. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I called this the Sword of Sharpness. You can either take the sort of simple take on it or the complicated take on it. I personally would choose the second one every time. I think that second one's awesome.
Me too.
You know, so like you got a -1 rend weapon, it becomes -2, and then you roll the 6 to wound. It's like -5 rend. What?
Yeah.
Slice, baby. Again, less good than a mortal wound, right? But somehow so much cooler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't -5 rend way cooler than a mortal wound?
Oh yeah, like you had an entire generation of players in Age of Sigmar playing was it Geyer Strike? Was it? No, not Geyer Strike. What was it? The just
Geyer Strike was the +1 to hit, +1 to wound sword.
+1 to wound. There was a rend weapon where just people were just obsessing over it for a small period in time in there. Oh man, it's gone. Oh, it was Beast of Chaos. We were just like obsessing over like Turbo Axe. Sorry, never mind.
You're
Just
fine.
Beast of Chaos nonsense. We're like,
Hmm.
it's our -5 red axe. Just like laughing about it. Sorry.
But that's a solid offense item. Like that Vial of the Manticore Venom is so stupid. You should have a solid offense item in there, right?
Yep.
And something that lets you like get in there and do work, son,
Mhm.
is real good.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So there's my second. Like that's another
So
item. Again, pick it
straightforward.
how you want, right? Okay.
Chaos Rune Blade. That was the one Frank was obsessing over. That's right.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, continuing on with my D&D themed items,
Mhm.
right? I didn't think about handing out flying, all right? But I did think about sort of speed. I too had some thoughts about mobility.
Mhm.
And for that I went back to the old uh the old boots speed. Okay? So here's how that's going to work in this.
Mhm.
So first of all, you can't be flying and use this magic item. Like if you have flying, you may not select this item. Okay?
Okay.
Your movement characteristic is doubled and may never be reduced
Ooh.
in any way.
All right.
Okay? But you can't have flying.
Okay.
So we can't give it to any flying characters. So you got to be a ground pounder. You got to run on your booties. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go. Good boots.
That's right. So your movement characteristic is doubled and can never be reduced in any way. All right. So all the spells that say half your movement, nope, you ignore those. Right? Now it doesn't affect your charges. People can still top you for half your charges and stuff like that is normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At the end of every turn, all right. Sorry. Also with the boot's speed. Okay, so yes, your movement characteristic is doubled. It can never be reduced in any way, right? And you gain +1 to charge. That was the other part of that I didn't mention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a nice, simple +1 to charge. Easy, peasy,
Straightforward.
good bonus.
Yep.
Right. At the end of each battle round, you roll a die. On a 1, the magic of the boots run out, and you are now exhausted. Your movement characteristic is halved and may never be increased for the rest of the game.
All right.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the battle round, not the turn, right?
Yeah.
But it's a big old item. Yet if that was like, if people don't think that's a big enough bonus, that's my sort of big bonus, but with some randomness one, right?
Yeah.
If people don't think that was big enough, you could always do like +2 to charge or something like that,
Yeah.
and that would be a
Yeah.
huge
It's just
bonus.
numbers
That's
are easy.
titanically
Yeah.
big. Yeah.
Yeah. You're hitting the 7-inch charge on a 5. That's a big deal. Even hitting it on a 6 is a huge deal.
So I like things like that, right? That are like, oh, you ran a lot, now you're tired. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very straightforward.
So we gotta make our list now for the GHB. You've got 3 items, I've got 3 items. There's 2 items in the GHB.
First of all, let's put more items than 4 in here. That's number 1.
Right. So would you just put all 6 of ours in there? Do you think
Yeah,
that might
like go 8?
Yeah.
Let's have 8 items. 8's pretty reasonable.
Well, like, because your speed boots aren't stepping on the toes necessarily of Thermal Rider Cloak.
Right, it's very different sort of thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. One's got the charge bonus baked in there. You can turbo speed something like way faster than just like a 4-inch guy getting flying, right? Like, yeah.
And so it's kind of an interesting choice, right? Plus, I love the idea of like 26-inch move stone horns. Be amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like scoot your butt around, baby. Just go.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can't fly means you can still there's counterplay to it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
it's a huge bonus to move, but there's counterplay because I can just sort of set up chaff lines and create areas of the board you can't go into.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I like stuff like that. Because the problem with things like the Fox is not only does he move a million miles, but he also flies. So it's just literally, and he's on a small base, so it's just teleport. He basically just moves wherever he wants every turn.
Yeah.
Right? That's not interesting. There's no counterplay there. But like with just being super fast, right? But on the ground, it's like, okay, now you can have people in the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, my Cape of the Mountebank is just like a once per, like
Sure.
like I would, to sweeten the pot, allow it to be used in combat once per game. You're just like, bamf. And you have to say it.
You have to say Banff, yeah. We should make some kind of like there are others we could do. Like
You
I think
notice
this is a good
we didn't
list.
make any. Neither was made a defensive item. Like we didn't
Yeah,
even
sure.
bother.
Because I think defense is the least interesting thing you can do, and it becomes automatically the outsized choice. And by the way, I think like the best defensive item you could potentially design already exists. It's called Amulet of Destiny.
It is. No, it's perfect. Like I mean, what else would you do? I mean, it's just a 5.
You would do a once a game you can't be targeted. You just give them a Cloud of Midnight type of thing.
Yeah.
That's the only other choice, right? Because you got to go. Since this is consistent and solid,
Yeah,
you'd have to do a
doppelgangers.
one-time.
It's either
super
doppelganger's
spike.
cloak or this, right? Like
Right.
that's it.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And you could put both in, and you're asking whether or not you want to just once per game be immune on the important turn or have the consistency.
Sure.
And they fit 2 different roles, and that's the only way to make another item in the defense category.
And really, the funny part would be, I think here we go, Meph. How much longer do you want to go? By the way, how long do you want to do this?
On you, but like
I
I think I got about half hour in me. I want to do an after-hour stream here and play some Psychonauts too. So, and
Sounds
good.
good.
I know you have
All
a
right,
regular.
Let's do a Meph. Would you like to? I'm going to change the rules here. Meph.
Okay.
I'm
All
flipping
right.
it. I'm flipping this. Okay, I'm taking over this show.
No, that's fine.
All right. So here we go. We're going to do a fun challenge here, Meph. You and I have both played D&D for most of our lives, or some version of role-playing games.
Like the 4th grade.
And the list of D&D magic items is long.
Very long.
It's super long. Okay. So now we're going to do the D&D Magic Warhammer Challenge.
Okay.
Okay. Where we're going to pick some random magic items, and then we'll go back and forth and design the Warhammer version of them.
Ooh, I love it.
All right.
I love
All
it.
right?
No, I love this.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm going to start. Where should we begin?
Hang on.
Start with some armor.
While you're looking, I just really want to real quick shout out
Go
to a great comment I saw here in chat about how they missed the Hydra's teeth that allowed you to summon skeletons. That's a design space I would love to live in a little bit in Age of Sigmar. Like when I saw Kritza, I was like, oh man, if Kritza had like a once per game summon 20 clan rats. Like something that. Like that would
giant
be
rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, giant rats, whatever it is. Yeah, like something like that would be so awesome. I would like a little bit of you can't go ham. Just like Nagash's Hand of Dust and like there's a Daughters of Cain equivalent, like a couple you got to keep that stuff fun and impactful, it's got to be sparing, but like a couple of things that just like a sort of the skeleton lord. +1 to spell casting, unbinding, blah 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 down the line, and then once per game summon 5 skeletons or 10 skeletons, whatever. Like, awesome. Like just something like
totally. No, that's sweet as. Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. All right, let's do armor first. Here we go. I'm going to pick an armor, and my armor choice, Meph. I'll let you go for you get the first design. You ready? All right. Dwarven plate. This is super classic, been around forever, almost the whole history of D&D. Dwarven plate.
Okay, so Dwarven plate in various iterations has been high fort or heavy fortification.
Yep. So what it does right now, I'll give you the rules right now.
Okay.
While wearing this armor, you gain an additional +2 bonus to AC. It's +2 armor, right? Mm-hmm. In addition, if an effect moves you against your will along the ground, you can use your reaction to reduce the distance you are moved by up to 10 feet. And it's obviously plate mail. So highly defensive and stops movement. Now, there's not a lot of move effects, right, in the game. That is to say, somebody else moves you. So that's not a great inspiration. But what are you doing with that?
So, hang on a second. Seeing this, I just gotta. I'm on call, of course, so I scheduled
You're okay. Do you want me to take the first one because I got this one?
Yeah, you take this one for me.
You do your thing. Here we go. Dwarven plate. Ready? Your armor save characteristic becomes 3+. Okay, that's number 1. Mm-hmm. In addition, okay, if any single attack, or however you would word that, would deal more than 2 damage to you, it deals 2 damage. Okay, so it basically caps the damage you can receive off of any single thing to 2 damage. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Easy.
So
So base 3-up characteristic, right? Characteristic of 3+.
Yep.
And if anything would deal, if any single attack or whatever, whatever the appropriate wording there is, just copy sort of Gotrek's wording. But instead of reducing it to 1, nothing can ever do more than 2 to you.
seems pretty sweet.
There you go.
Durthu does not like dwarves now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Durthu's sword suddenly cut from like 6 damage to 2. Right? Like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, there you go. That's my dwarven plate. All these would obviously need thought and balancing, but this is the lightning round. This is off the top of our
Yeah,
head.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Meph, are you ready? I'm going to give you another one.
Okay.
All right. We're going to give you the ring. There's so many classic rings.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So for you, Meph, we're going to go for literally the oldest and most classic ring in all of fantasy. The Ring of Invisibility. Right?
Okay. It's Assassin's ability. It just gives the unit the assassin ability. You can like stash into yeah. You just stash it, and I want to give you like an arbitrary bonus a lot of times when I do something like that, but I feel like that is such a powerful effect in and of itself.
I love it. Like there'd be a cap. You can't have like the monster keyword or something, right? But other than that, yeah, you just hide in a unit like an assassin.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Like that's a great strat opener right there.
Yeah.
Right? Be like, oh, boom! I was here the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I mean,
right?
even like when you've got like models like the humble beast lord that's taken down a keeper of secrets with a sword of judgment. Like one of those models that's just actually kind of pound for pound like punches above its weight class, just with like its amount of rerolls. It's got like 2 rend, like something like that. Now you're stashing that in a unit. And you're just like, everyone's just looking around. Like, I would add some extra fluff text to where it actually still operates to like deliver universal buffs, or like usually like things that are in reserve tend to not be on the table. It would functionally be on the table for like a couple things, like, or you could even go wacky with it just to like, I like clean rules. It is treated as being in any unit until you reveal it in the unit, so you can project.
Oh yeah, sure. That's how the assassin works. He doesn't have to be. You don't have to You do not have to dictate the assassin's unit beforehand. You can just choose to pop him out anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Cunning mega boss on foot. Let's go. Yeah, another one that punches.
Yeah, man. Just pops out of unit of brutes like, oi, boom. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Right? Yeah. Okay. I'll challenge myself.
That was a home run. That was easy.
That was great. That was really good. I would not have thought of that. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to challenge myself here. Well, I'll move to the rod. Okay. So I'm going to pick what, in my estimation, is the coolest and most classic
If
rod.
you don't say the one I'm thinking of, I'm going to be very disappointed in you.
The Rod of Lordly Might.
Oh,
is my pick. That's fine. What was your pick?
It's immovable. Immovable rod.
Sure.
But like, how do you design that as an item?
Too. Yeah. I love immovable rods as well. I had a character that literally only moved through immovable rods. Like I had multiple sets of them, and I would jump around with acrobatics and click them in midair, and then use them to flip around like Spider-Man.
It's one of those items that you accidentally always find even better and better like uses for. Like you're just like, oh, the thing's trying to break through the door. Immovable rod. Like you just.
It got a lot weaker now, I'll say, in the current edition. Like, it got way pushed down. It's only an uncommon item now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can move it with string checks and stuff. I mean, it's a hard string check, but sure.
Boo.
It's not truly immovable.
Boo.
But...
we made a weird turbine with them or something like that, because we figured out with the physics, like, the rod can't move, but the amount of force that you would put in it doesn't go nowhere. And so, like, if you could build, like, some sort of thing that, like, took the vibration on it, like, we made turbines out of it.
I love it. All right, so the Rod of Lordly Might is this classic item that like has a bunch of weird buttons on it, and it pops into different items. Right, it can like turn into an axe, and it can like shoot out like a grappling hook, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's Batman and a stick. Is what.
It's the wackiest item. My like 17th level paladin in our ongoing campaign, my literal favorite D&D character I've ever played, the game that Tom's running, has a Rod of Lordly Might. Now, the important part about the Rod of Lordly Might is it has 3 sort of like abilities it can use once a day: Drain Life, Paralyze, and Terrify. Okay? So, I'm going to say that we're gonna translate the general version of this, like it's all of its different sort of attacks and stuff, right? Into the following thing, which is just the rod gives you +1 to hit. Okay, that's it. That's just gonna be its basic thing. Okay.
Yeah, it can turn into the right weapon that you need for the right moment. So like you're always at a +1 to hit.
Yep, exactly. It's sort of shape-shifting nature. All right. Once per game, after you slay a model, you can choose to heal a d6 wounds. In addition, once per game, okay.
Are these separate, or you can trigger them separately, or if you
you can trigger these separately or together or whatever,
okay.
Right?
All right.
In addition, once per game, in the shooting phase, you can choose a unit within 12 inches and roll 2d6 or something like that, 3d6. Let's say 3d6. If you roll greater than their move characteristic, they cannot move in their next movement phase.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once per game, at the beginning of the enemy charge phase, you can so that was paralyze, right? So you got drain life, the heal off the kill, paralyze, the stop somebody from moving, and then terrify once per game at the start of the enemy charge phase. You can activate its terrifying property, and any enemies within 12 inches of the bearer are -1 to charge.
Cool. See, I would have went with Force of Bravery test out of sync, because I always think those are actually...
Oh, sure, like an out of sync battle shock test?
Yeah, an out of sync battle shock test, because out of shock...
That could have been a good way to go, sure.
Like, out of sync, because you're not usually benefiting from all the stuff that says, like, immune or bonuses to, because they almost always say in the battle shock phase. So it gets around some of that, and you can Bravery bomb somebody, like, in the charge phase, like, like you know,
yeah.
But no, I like that too. Yeah, I'd go for a -2 to charge. I think a -1's like, 2 feels like, wow,
It's a big penalty. I'm just trying to kind of rein it in and keep it a little reasonable, but sure, it's fine.
I mean, it's doing 3 things, so it's okay if it does 3 minor things, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was trying to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
All right, dude. You get the weapon.
Ooh,
okay?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. I mean, there's so many good weapons, right? I mean, like, the D&D is about cool weapons.
Yeah.
But we're going to pick the one that I think is, like, tragically stupid in the current rules of D&D, but is, like, got the coolest name and is one of the coolest themes of a weapon ever. All right? And that is the 9 Lives Stealer.
I had one of these on my Ijitsu Masters.
Love it. Perfect Ijitsu Master Blade, right? Like, bam, this is katana. Yeah, sure. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I had a Ijitsu Master. So good. That was a wacky game. See, this is a tough one. I feel like, so, with the exception of combat's the only thing you can get into, like, 9 times, because technically you fight twice, right?
Sure, there could be 10 combat rounds in the game.
Yeah. And I'm going to go for cheeky verisimilitude. You can only do this 9 times.
Okay. So you can't do it all 10 rounds.
Right.
Okay, sure.
Which is fine, because you might not get into combat the first round. If you have double activations, that counts too. Like, go off activations. So 9 activations. Double activations is too powerful.
Sure.
Like, so I think that's right out.
I mean, the way the 9 Life Stealer works now, just to baseline you, right, is if you score a critical hit, then you can choose to activate its thing. And if you score a critical hit and they have less than 100 hit points, you can activate its thing, and then they make a con check, and if they fail, they're slain instantly because you steal their soul.
Right.
And the sword eats their soul.
I mean, this is sort of judgment, but you can only do it 9 times.
It's just sort of judgment, but limited to 9 times. You know what? I don't think you're wrong.
It's just when you roll a 6.
Yep. Just blammo, mortal wounds. But you cannot trigger it more than 9 times in the game. You have to, like, every 6 hit counts as 1. Yeah. There you go. You did it. And you fixed Sword of Judgment too, so it's like it's not over. It's not
Yeah,
too
you can only
powerful
do
now,
this.
right?
You can only do it 9 times in the whole game. So like you have
I love it.
9 6s that you just queue up and just become
Yeah,
D6 mortals.
yeah, it's great. It's great. It's fantastic. You have done it. You have succeeded. I fully approve this. I ship this. I'm with it. I'm good. Okay. Cool. All right.
See, we've gotten away. I do you fear? Or tangent on Rantcast here. I know these are unheard of. Do you fear
Sure.
we've gotten a little bit too far away from stuff like that? Like a little wackiness in the magic items where like I arbitrarily you can only do this 9 times. Like and you're just like what? Like we see a little bit with like spellcast ranges being 13 and Skaven. Do you think we've gone a little bit too far away from that in our especially our magic items? Maybe like.
I mean, I like wacky stuff, so I'm always a fan of it. Is my answer,
Mhm.
right? I don't see any real problem with it. I think having stuff like that is fun. It's interesting. It's very memorable,
Mhm.
right? It makes the thing kind of stand out when it has a weird limitation like that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's not a bad thing to have that kind of fun. So yeah, Glitch said, "Oh no, you can only do 96 mortals weak. I'll take my -1 bravery aura artifact. Thanks." Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
We gotta hit at least the level of -1 bravery. You're right. It's a good point. You got me there. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pick a wondrous item here, as it were, and there's one I want to pick because it fits in this category of magic items they have consistently screwed up. They screwed it up in the realm artifacts. Every time they print these, they screw them up.
Mm-hmm.
They do it in a lot of books too, and they're all wrong. They're always wrong, and I'm going to fix it.
There you go.
Okay. You know all those artifacts they have, Meph, that are like pseudo ranged attacks?
Yes.
Right? This is like such a popular category. Right, of like in the shooting phase, pick a unit within 8 inches and roll a die, and on a 3-up, if the moon is a waning gibbous,
they love
whatever,
they love 2d6 and beat the unit's bravery. They love that at 12 inches,
like
2d6 right? Beat it. Table flip every single time.
Table flip, yeah, exactly. So we're gonna do the gaudiest, but one of the most famous magic items in D&D, just the Helm of Brilliance, right?
It's got all
it's
the
just
gems.
full of all the gems, baby, right? And it just shoots prismatic sprays and fireballs and all that kind of crap out of it, right? It's great. It's great. Okay. So the Helm of Brilliance. Okay, so here's what it does. Okay. In your shooting phase, you can choose a unit that is within what's a reasonable range. What's a fireball / prismatic spray range? 12 inches translated over to the battlefield? Let's say sure. Within 12 inches. Pretty close. I could see an argument for 16, but somewhere in that range. Reasonable. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. So you pick a unit within 12 inches. Okay? You may choose to either roll 6 dice, 12 dice, or 18 dice.
Ooh, okay.
Okay?
All right.
For every 5+ you roll, that unit takes a mortal wound.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
Once you have resolved that, roll a d6. Okay? If you chose 6 dice, on a 2+, the item can be used again. On a 1, it cannot.
Okay.
If you chose 12 dice, on a 3+, the item can be used again. On a 1 or 2, it cannot. If you chose 18 dice, roll a d6. On a 4-up, it can be used again. Otherwise, it cannot. Right? Because you burn out all the gems.
I love this.
There you go.
I would add one addendum to it. You have a -1 to be hit in shooting.
This is the brilliance. I love it.
It's so opulent.
There you go. Yes. Yes. So there we go. So there you go. That would be my Helm of Brilliance, right? Doesn't that sound fun? Just grabbing that grip of dice and being like, "Oh, I'm rolling for the big one."
Oh, every time. Like every time, Timmy's like,
"Hit that 4-up, baby!"
And they're gonna go online and say, "I use the helmet every time I roll the 18 dice. It breaks. It never fails." And you're just like, "But they don't stop doing it."
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Amazing. Oh no.
Yeah, and their average obviously out of that is obviously 2, 4, and 6 mortal wounds. So completely reasonable numbers, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the modal outcome.
Yeah, but it feels big. Like it feels so
Feels
big.
so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. I saw somebody ask, "Are we going to do the deck of many things?" And like, I don't even know how you would translate that. That thing is so big and wacky. Those kinds of artifacts.
I mean, you'd have to do something like it's at the beginning of the game, roll some dice type thing, and that's what you get from the
Sure.
deck of many things, and then you get
Right, to like see which card you drew or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
and then you'd have some sort of like universal buff or bad thing happen to you because that's what makes the deck of many things so great. Or no, the deck of many things is just items and shit. It's the what's the other? No, it is the deck of many things. You can like just die.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in a recent when I just finished up a campaign not too long ago that went to level 20, we actually played 1 through 20. So suck it, the rest of you nerds out there who've never experienced that. So take that. And we there was a moment where we had to draw from the deck of many things as a punishment. Like we were trying to get into Dracula's throne room. Don't ask. It was just yes, it was actually Dracula. Yes, he was a nice guy. But we needed to get into his throne room. You had to draw from the deck of many things. It was like a punishment. You had to go through the ordeal to actually get in. That was the only way to get in the door. Okay, and because this was like, I mean, this game took place in a sort of very real world. In fact, it was like 1870s sort of magical New York. Two people drew ruin. Like you lose all worldly wealth. And they were both from wealthy families and they bankrupted their entire families. And members of their family were now out on the street and homeless. And members of their family, like, it didn't go well because suddenly they lost everything. So the deck is cool. Can enable a lot of stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean I mean really, this is a D&D stream now. Look at me. If you ever, as a GM, like you're just having a week where you're it's the game's not coming together for whatever reason, your notes are just failing you. They're in a bar, they play, and they just stumble upon a deck of many things. And the thing about players is there's two types of players in the world: players who will draw from it and players who will avoid it every time. So you got to
Sure.
force them to draw from it, right? And
Well,
that's
that
the
was
whole
the trick here, right? Yes, like we had to draw. There was no choice,
yeah.
right?
And so set up a scenario where they're forced to draw from the deck of many things. Guess what? That's now your adventure. Like just
Sure.
5 cards, you'll have a whole adventure. Like, and as a GM, you're rolling behind a GM screen. So if you roll something lame, just like roll
Sure.
again.
So, anyways, yeah, that one might be a little too complicated for a Warhammer magic item, but nonetheless, it is one of my favorite magic items of all time. So I get it.
It's always Ty from Playin' and Slayin', along with Bryce. They've got a story about the deck of many things, and like how utterly brutal like the experience was because like they had to like their whole thing was like they were going through it and they had to draw like every card or something like that, or they
Oh,
were like in
Jesus.
a draw off with like some person and like they tried to trick the deck in ways and he has a whole story. He's probably told it on Playin' and Slayin', but if you ever have a chance to like talk to him like in person at a tournament, listen to his like deck of many things story with Bryce and stuff. It's pretty awesome. I won't spoil it. Um,
I will absolutely ask him about that. I am fascinated. So the point is, we just designed like a ton of magic items,
mhm.
and all of them were by far more interesting than 2 out of the 4 of what they designed. And so my question is, have these people ever seen magic items? Like, I don't understand. Like, like, did you never play D&D? Did you never what's the situation here? Why can't we get this?
I have to
I
wonder
don't know.
about what the design directive is that they're given. I don't know the relationship, like how much creative control, like Jervis, Pierce, and the third one. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting.
Sam?
Sam. Yeah, I don't know how much creative control they get over their direction. If they get they get their design documented, handed to them with their pipeline, they say, "Hey, this is the schedule. We need something for this, and this," and so they just have to churn out. I have no idea what that's like.
Sure.
Um, but so I won't pretend to know. But like, come on, guys, these magic items is it's the where you can just inject the most accidental fun into a game at all times. It doesn't matter if it's Dungeons
And
and
it's like
Dragons.
one of the coolest things, right? Like we
Yeah,
all love magic items. It's such a cool idea,
yeah,
right? Like it's kept adventurers going into dungeons for years just on the concept that you can get some sweet loots.
yeah. No, exactly. Like how many the Herodrum fine treasure you got there with that
Mhm.
Herodrum cube.
Robert Cube.
Like
Yeah.
it's just treasure and items and doing shit. Like there's like something essential there to fantasy. I mean, our
Yeah.
most basic classical fantasy story, the one we credit for like the creation of fantasy as the genre, centers around a goddamn magic ring. You know, like
Yes. And a bunch of other ones. Like it is a very magic item laden story. The reforging of Aragorn's sword, right? That is
mhm,
the reforging of a magic item. The mithril armor that Frodo has that saves him from the troll.
yep,
Even in the Hobbit, right? Like the two swords, beater and biter. You
right.
know, the two magic swords. Like and on and on and on and on, right? The Lembus and the Cloaks of Elven Kind and
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just a super magic
Well,
item rich story
I,
because it's cool.
Well, I mean, magic items are so infectious. I mean, kind of what you did here tonight with like, hey, here's some D&D items. What would they look like in this setting? Like, they're so infectious. Like, I play a bunch of RPGs. If I go into an RPG and there's a magic item I love from a different setting, it ends up in that setting. I make it. You know, I change its name or whatever. I find rules to make it work. But like, Cloak of Elvenkind was one of them where I remember that like you cover up and like you look like rocks. And I'm like, what? That's the fucking coolest shit ever. You know, and
Right.
just why doesn't this other game have something like that? Oh yeah, there's like a Cloak of the Wind or some. I just made up a different name. And I'm like, and you can fucking cover up, and then you just get covered in debris because the wind blows it on you. Now you're invisible. Like whatever the stupid thing I made up to make it work. Like like lost a shield of surfing.
Mhm. It's a very important one.
Yeah,
Very powerful.
yeah, yeah. Korn used to have an artifact that doubled your attacks, but if you rolled 2 1s to hit, you got turned into a chaos spawn.
See, that's great stuff right there.
That's what I want. That's what you guys want. It's such a great item.
My only issue is it should have done more. It should have tripled your attacks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, just go big.
Because then it's even more risky.
Well, exactly, exactly. Well, I mean that's part of where I'm at with some of this stuff is the numbers just push them further. Be
Right.
bold in creating magic items.
Yep.
So
Yep. I agree.
so obviously we're saying this is a thought experiment to like everybody out there. How do we get this moving? Like what's the takeaway here?
I don't know, man. My honest answer is, when I did Rain in Hell, obviously I had to make a bunch of essences and relics, right, for
Hmm.
that game, because
Right.
that's a big part of how things you can collect. This is something I did pay a lot of attention to because it means a lot to me to have this sort of stuff available. And I think for the most part, as we play tested and I watch people build warbands, they chose a lot of different items because I tried to have different kinds of items for different kinds of people, right? Different things that would appeal to whatever your strat was, to what your cabal was doing, to what your kind of goals were in the game to help you enable certain strategies. Basically, what I talked about. I just hope it's something. I don't know if maybe it's just something they don't put a lot of thought into. Maybe it's just kind of an afterthought for them. I guess my hope is that they stop doing that and really put some real time and effort into making some super cool
Did
items.
did they listen to criticisms about like our malign portents or whatever malign sorcery list? Did they take the wrong message from that? Because
I don't know. Maybe because a lot of people complained about like, oh, so many of the magic items are useless, and I was like, yeah, but who cares? Like, yes, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Like, what we need is a small list. Let's call it 8 to 12 items of things that are like interesting, usable, fascinating, strategy enabling, right? Like that's what we want. So, there you go. That's yeah, I guess. Uh
Frank was wrong. I was wrong. Double the attacks characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons, but not their mounts.
Oh, that's nice. If it fails to slay anyone, yeah, super corn there. That's great. It's great. That's a great item. See, that's good design. We had this at one point. We have the technology. Like let's do this.
You know, I forgot. Rantathon put the idea for this episode, I think, in our collective minds. And I knew I wanted to book you for another rant. Actually, I think we had to cancel. You were going to come on and talk Rain and Hell. And I'm like, we didn't even bring it up. You want to talk about Rain and Hell just real quick? Give the pitch in case somebody happens to be watching my show and doesn't know what the fuck it is. Like, I don't know. What are you doing
Sure,
watching a show with Vince and Meth there that you don't know about about this?
yeah, so Rain and Hell is the fast-paced, brutal skirmish war game that was released by myself and Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions, and we were very happy with it. It's a super lot of fun. It has a full campaign narrative mode in it, so you can play a full campaign against your friends. It is all about playing demons in post-apocalyptic hell. You have a cabal of demons that you are trying to reshape the face of hell according to your belief. So each cabal has its own set of beliefs, their philosophy, as it were, and you through through battle seek supremacy over all of hell, and you build your cabal over time, and they advance, and they can find essences, the souls of other demons. Souls are both the currency of the realm as well as what constitutes demons' beings, and it's their magic items, and it's kind of everything. And yeah, it's a super lot of fun. It's available now on Wargame Vault. You can also go to rainandhellthegame.com and you can find it there. It's not expensive. It's $10 for the PDF or $15 for the book plus the PDF.
My book's lying up. So I have this fancy bookshelf behind me with lots of great books. The actual place of honor is on the bookshelf that is my headboard, because that means I've been reading it. So it's all the way upstairs. So
And on the bright side, we're going to be releasing solo play rules, solo and co-op play rules here in the next couple weeks. I don't know the exact date yet because it's sort of in its final. It's been written, it's been edited, it's in like its final layout and art and stuff. We're just doing right now. And so you will, even if you don't happen to have anybody to play with, very soon you'll have a full solo campaign you can run through for the game. So
now I have an idea of something I can do for content to steal eyeballs from everybody else. It's I live on an island of nerdery. I'm just gonna start filming me playing Rain and Hell by myself. So
there you go. But that campaign was very much designed with sort of my kind of sensibilities, and I think people are really going to enjoy it, and it's going to be a lot of fun for them. So there you go.
I know you did the interview tour already. I have one one main burning question I never really got to ask you.
Hit me.
What was the workload like between you and Adam? Like what was it? I mean, because you've got like someone you're conspiring with to create a thing. Someone would have had like maybe the main brain child. Someone had the brainchild, and you. How did that come down? Was it his idea? Was it your idea? Did you come to each other and talk about it? And then from there, how much is like you designing it and rules side and him the fluff? Like what was that breakdown like?
Yeah, so it was a very collaborative experience overall. Adam's a super great partner. Like really, I mean, we're going to keep designing games together. So look for more. We'll probably do about one a year. But the answer is, it was his idea. He had the concept for Rain and Hell, and then we kind of workshopped it. Like it wasn't, he didn't have like some finished concept in his head. He came to me with sort of the concept, and then we roughed it out and built it up. And then I had the lead for most of the rules writing, but that's not to say that Adam just sat around and did nothing. He was actually again a great partner, because he would kind of say, I'm thinking it should be something like this, and I would say, well, I maybe think it should work something like this, and we kind of sketch out sort of a rough thing of how we wanted it to feel, how we thought it should kind of act, and then I would go away, write rules, bring them back to him, we'd discuss it, and then that was kind of it. And there are things in there I'm really, really proud of. The activation system is
with the dice that you actually have like this pool, and you're sort of
I'm really proud of it. I think it's like a piece of design that I haven't really seen in any other game before. Not that novelty alone is necessarily good.
No,
I'm very happy with it.
If I may, like, flatter you, who needs no help with your ego,
Sure.
I want to see something like this show up in more RPGs. My first love is RPGs, and I'm not shy about it. I mean, don't worry, AOS community. I didn't make an RPG podcast. I made an AOS podcast, so I clearly love and am passionate about this game. But my first love was always RPGs, and I'm like, man, like I'm just starting to like wonder about the permutations of what that might look like in an RPG where you have this sort of, I mean, at some point it starts to feel too big because if you have like 20 NPCs, but then that can just be like extra dice, and not necessarily a like like multiplicative, and so it's just one of those things where like I saw that bit of design and I'm like, wow, it's the sort of thing you see once in a great while when you see like someone just had a great idea for some gameplay and you're like, shit, that's awesome, and you're like, man, everyone needs to start doing stuff with this and experimenting with this, because the leaps and bounds of gameplay that we make of sort of like truly unique or interesting mechanics come kind of few and far between. It's dice and bonuses, folks, and sometimes rerolls, right? Like that's
Right.
change the die you roll with. And no, it was just interesting. It was a really good marriage of like sort of an initiative based system or whatever, and a dice pool. So neat, awesome, cool. I mean that was it for questions I would have probably theoretically written down, and I don't want to like make a whole second rantcast within this one, but what
Right. If you want, we could always just do another one in the future, buddy. I'm always happy to come hang out.
might have to, yeah, might have to. If only there was an AOS RPG and associated podcast. The best damn Soulbound show will come back, everybody. It's a me thing. It's not on the party. I just my schedule. It's really difficult to do rantcast every week and then also do, to do the best damn Soulbound show. It's just difficult to maintain both, and I
Yeah,
wasn't
and
giving it
running a
at
game.
all with my party, and as a GM who's kind of, I don't say like a perfectionist, but I absolutely thrive on the enjoyment of my players and feeling like I've given them something compelling and great every week, every adventure. It just yeah, I didn't have the stuff, and like I could probably run one or the other, but you dance with the one you took to the dance, and AOS Rantcast is who I took to the dance. So this is always going to be a priority in my content, no matter what I do in the future. Um, it's what got me here. So
Makes sense. We're don't worry. Well, we're, no matter what, Skig lives on. I am sitting here painting a rat cast right now as we speak. So there we go.
yeah, but I'm hoping this fall we'll get the band back together. We'll finish up this current story arc, and I have a what I would call a season end or a season finale, to where like you can. I always write my endings like, yeah, it could come back, but you got to write it like it's a TV show, and you don't know if you're coming back for another season, right?
Sure.
So I've got an ending that should be satisfying and give people closure for the narrative, but also open up the possibility that it actually goes like full Planescape in the future, and then your imaginations are just like, ooh, and then maybe we get so just something to like get a nice little bow on it for everyone who's watched 17, I think, episodes of that, or 17 adventures of that. So I mean that's no small task. Those are like 3 to
Not at all.
4 hours of just, yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, checking. See, make sure I got all the questions here. I agree, humans are stupid in fantasy settings. I'm a human in reality. Yeah. All right. So talking about cool setting stuff. Any digital soapbox final moments? Could be gaming related. Anything or anything. This is the final soapbox.
Not really. Just fix the stupid word save thing sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Right on. And I don't think I need to offer for you to put anything on shout out or blast, but everyone knows to check out now. One more time, hit me with where they can check out Rain in Hell, and obviously
RaininHellTheGame.com. That's all you need. You can also just go directly to Wargames Vault. It's right there on the main page, so you can find it there as well.
Right on. Right on. And you can see Warhammer Weekly, the same Warhammer Weekly place, the same Warhammer Weekly time every Wednesday on YouTube, with
That's
Vince
right.
and his forever host, Tyler Emerson, who's always been there as far as I know.
Yeah, basically it's. I mean, it's been amazing. He's been great for the last 6 years. I'm lucky to have him as a co-host. Yeah.
Chat gang, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are the show within the show, the reason I do this thing. Drink your milk, pay your taxes. We'll see you next time.